Chapter 201. This, Tong Fei neither dodged nor dodged Xiao Yan's fiery red spear. Instead, he used his left hand to firmly grasp it. The sharp spear cut through the flesh of his opponent's palm, causing scarlet blood to swiftly flow out. Immediately after, something happened that shocked everyone present. Buzz! Along with a dangerous aura, a sharp metal claw immediately extended from Tong Fei's empty right sleeve. What? Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Their faces were filled with surprise. Xiao Yan's pupils shrank slightly as panic flashed across his face. You, heh. Tong Fei's face revealed a sinister smile as he raised his right arm and attacked Xiao Yan like a bolt of lightning. A hurried and ear-piercing sound rang out as the enormous power pounced like the poisonous fangs and sharp claws of a powerful, ferocious beast. Xiao Yan hurriedly released the spear in his hand and pushed out a surging palm energy to meet his opponent. Bang! A heavy explosive sound rang out between the two. The scattered true yuan power ripples were like exploding water balls as they wantonly splashed everywhere. The ferocious impact immediately broke through Xiao Yan's defense. The latter's body trembled slightly as he retreated several dozen meters in succession. This sudden turn of events had stunned countless people present. Bang! The fiery red spear in Tong Fei's left hand was forcefully crushed by a loud bang. Everyone's attention was focused on his right arm. It was not a normal human hand, but a sharp metal claw. The sharp metal claw's 5 fingers were separated and flickered with a piercing cold light. If one was scratched by it, one's skin would definitely be lacerated. When did Tong Fei get a fake arm? I don't know. I've never seen it before. I see. Looks like this metal arm was prepared for Xiao Yan. Various low voices of discussion rose in the audience. The various instructors and students of the Tensei Prefecture could not help but feel a little solemn for Xiao Yan. Tong Fei had probably waited a long time for this day. Hee. Tong Fei raised his steel right arm, and a ball of black light rose up like a flame, covering the top and bottom of the iron claw, emitting a chilling intent. Xiao Yan, I've said it before. Today, I'll return the humiliation I received to you 100-fold. Humph. This old man is going to die of laughter. You think you are so amazing just because you have a fake arm? Xiao Yan revealed a mocking sneer as he said, If you think of this as a prosthetic arm, then you are gravely mistaken. Ha! Not only can this arm move freely under the control of true core energy, but this time you won't be able to cut it off no matter what. Prepare to die. Tong Fei roared furiously. His eyes were bloodshot. Boom! Immediately after, a tyrannical aura erupted from Tong Fei's body like a raging wave. The true origin energy that surged out of his body shot up more than 10 meters into the air. A wild gust of wind swept through the entire arena, sending sand and pebbles flying towards the audience. Tong Fei's iron arm stretched out, stirring up a fierce cyclone. Annihilation Demon capturing hand. In the next instant, a giant black claw immediately reached out from Tong Fei's front toward Xiao Yan. The terrifying giant claw was slender and sharp, just like the hand of an evil spirit that stretched out from the depths of hell. A dense destructive aura whizzed toward Xiao Yan, making it hard for anyone to move. Xiao Yan narrowed his eyes, not daring to be the slightest bit negligent. The surging red light was like a monstrous flame, directly wrapping Xiao Yan within it. The raging aura swept through the entire arena. Subsequently, Xiao Yan directly leaped into the air, his body parallel to the ground before he rapidly spun in a spiral. His body turned into an astonishing light pillar that shot up to meet the attack head-on. Graceful mountain-piercing drill, boom! In an instant, under the tens of thousands of astonished gazes in the arena, the light pillar that Xiao Yan's body stirred up the airflow in all directions solidly collided with the black evil spirit's claw. The audience felt as if there were 2 balls of light that originated from outer space intersecting before their eyes. Sparks flew in all directions as the true origin energy collided. At this moment, the dazzling red aurora and the dense black light filled the entire arena, causing the heavens and earth to dim by a few degrees. The overlapping halos spread out in all directions. The dust and rocks on the arena seemed to be swept away by the autumn wind, rushing towards the audience outside the arena. Everyone was secretly shocked, their faces filled with shock. This was especially so for the students from Imperial Martial Academy and Tensei Prefecture. Each and every one of them had their hearts in their mouths, hanging in midair. Tong Fei's actually this strong? Chu Hen casually muttered to himself. Yes. He Qing'en, who was next to him, nodded and replied seriously. Before Tong Fei lost an arm, he was in existence close to the top 5 in the entire Imperial Martial Academy. Apart from a few freaks that entered the sky ranking, only Yao Zhan can compare to Tong Fei, but he still lost to senior brother Xiao Yin last year. Zhou Lu interrupted. He Qingyuan smiled. In fact, even senior brother Xiao Yin himself admitted that luck played a large part in his victory over Tong Fei. He only won last year's competition with his ruthlessness. Boom! A powerful shockwave rippled out from the arena once again, the disorderly energy causing the arena to be in a state of desolation. On the other hand, Tong Fei and Xiao Yin were evenly matched. When the black ghost hand was shattered, the tornado light pillar that Xiao Yin had transformed into also stopped. At this moment, the moment Xiao Yin landed on the ground, he leaped up again and pounced towards his opponent like a mighty lion. Buzz buzz! An extreme energy fluctuation quickly gathered in Xiao Yan's right palm, the restless aura causing the space to faintly distort. Oomph! Tong Fei's eyes also turned cold. When the other party pounced on him, he raised his right arm. With a whoosh, his iron arm suddenly flew out from his sleeve. Like a flowing light and an afterimage, it swept towards Xiao Yin with a ferocious might. Oh no! Senior brother Xiao Yin has nowhere to hide. A panicked voice came from the audience of Tensei Prefecture. Everyone else also frowned. Xiao Yin, who was in the air, had no foothold and could not dodge his opponent's iron claw. Even if he dodged it, Tong Fei's next attack would definitely follow. In this way, Xiao Yin was already at a disadvantage. You're dead. A sinister look flashed in Tong Fei's eyes. At the same time, the true yuan in his body rapidly gathered towards his left hand. The sharp iron claw tore through the air, like a meteor that broke through Xiao Yan's defense. At this moment, Xiao Yan had to take action to dodge or block. However, something that no one expected happened again. Xiao Yan paid no attention to the iron claw that was flying towards him and let it hit his chest. Bang! The incomparably sharp iron claw directly pierced into Xiao Yan's flesh, causing a string of blood to float in the air. However, in the next instant, a crazed smile clearly appeared on Xiao Yan's face. Haha, Tong Fei, the reason why I could beat you last year was because I was more ruthless than you. This year it's the same, what? It was as if a thunderclap had exploded in the audience's ears. When he finished speaking, Xiao Yin released the powerful force gathered in his palm. The rapid wind pierced Tong Fei's ears, and his pupils shrank to the size of needle tips. A saber wave that had gathered together and seemed to have gained physical form sliced through the air. Its momentum was as fast as a flowing light that chased after the moon, and it cut into Tong Fei's body before it could reach him. Boom! The space trembled slightly, and a dazzling red light quietly erupted. Tong Fei let out a painful scream, then spat out a mouthful of blood, and was directly sent flying off the stage. What? In an instant, countless spectators outside the arena involuntarily stood up from their seats. Their faces were filled with deep disbelief. They saw Tong Fei fall to the ground, and his originally powerful aura rapidly withered. On his chest, there was a bone-deep wound diagonally from his right shoulder to his left abdomen. Blood was dripping, and it was a ghastly sight. Everyone gasped. They originally thought that today would be Tong Fei's revenge battle, but who would have thought that he would once again be defeated by Xiao Yan's hands? Last year, the two of them fought fiercely, and Xiao Yan was slightly superior. It was the same this year. Swoosh! Xiao Yin directly pulled out the sharp iron claw that was stuck in his chest. 5 bloody holes were spurting out blood, but his face was filled with a relaxed expression. He casually threw the iron claw on the table. "Sorry, I won again." His faint smile had a kind of gentle and hearty affinity, but at this moment, everyone knew that this seemingly gentle young man actually had a beast-like ruthlessness. Tong Fei fell to the ground, his lips slightly moving a few times, but he could not even get up. Following that, an earth-shattering round of applause erupted from the Heavenly Star Marshall House's area, sweeping out in all directions. "Wow! Congratulations to senior brother Xiao Yin for making it to the top 16. That's so cool, senior brother Xiao Yin." Haha. One was Chu Hen, and the other was Xiao Yin. 2 contestants from the Tensei Prefecture had made it to the top 16 one after another. This was something worthy of excitement for the entire academy. At this moment, everyone's eyes unconsciously turned to the quiet beauty by Yu Yue, who had not yet entered the arena. If she could also complete the advancement, there was no doubt that the other advanced academies and martial houses would not be able to sit still. This was because no one would think that Tianxing was the worst. Subsequently, Tong Fei was carried out of the arena for treatment. After Xiao Yin was confirmed by Song Chunglai that his injuries were not too serious, he also underwent simple treatment. Chapter 202. The ranking battle for the top 32 of the Earth ranking was in full swing. The atmosphere in the arena continued to rise, and as time passed, a series of brilliant battles began, appeared, and ended. 32 to 16. There were a total of 16 groups of contestants, and at this moment, it was already the 15th match. Senior Sister Yu Yue will definitely win. Senior Sister Yu Yue, you can do it. The Tensei Prefecture region was constantly filled with excited shouts and cheers. The 15th match was between Bai Yu Yue of Tensei Prefecture and Fu Yuan of the Falcon Martial House. In recent years, the 2 great martial houses, Heavenly Star and Falcon Martial Houses, had constantly been in conflict, and there were often large and small disputes. The main dispute was manifested in the Falcon Martial House's students mocking and ridiculing the Heavenly Star Martial House's students every time they saw them, and liked to suppress the latter. Especially in the previous Newcomer Star competition, the Falcon Martial House's students had even declared that they would beat up the Heavenly Star Martial House's students every time they saw them. Of course, in this year's Newcomer Star competition, the Falcon Martial House's students had declared that they would beat up the Heavenly Star Martial House's students every time they saw them. Returning to the Earth ranking battle, at this moment, for the entire Tensei Prefecture, whether or not Bai Yue could advance to the top 16 was an extremely important matter. If she won this match, then while dealing a blow to the Falcon Martial House, it would also mean that 3 people from Tensei Prefecture had advanced to the top 16. With such a result, no one would think that the Heavenly Star Martial House was still at the bottom anymore. On the martial arena, sparks flew in all directions, and chaotic waves of air wantonly filled the air. Blade lights and sword shadows interweaved, enveloping the entire stage, dazzling the eyes of the audience. Fu Yuan's sword momentum was swift and fierce, and it was based on momentum. Bai Yue's blade technique was light, agile, and elegant, and had a myriad of changes. This seemed to be an evenly matched battle. Bai Yue's expression was especially serious. The sword-shaped lightsaber in her hand continuously interweaved in the air, creating crescent-shaped silver streaks of light. The speed of the airflow on the stage continued to increase, causing sand and pebbles on the ground to fly into the air. I didn't expect a place like Heavenly Star to produce a talent like you. Fu Yuan smiled calmly. Comparatively speaking, he appeared to be more relaxed. Countless streaks of sword chi were like flickering lights and passing shadows, clashing with the opponent's saber light. The collision of true essence shook the entire audience. Countless slender and deep blade marks had already appeared on the platform beneath their feet. Bai Yue's eyes were so calm that not a single ripple could be seen. Her lips curved into a faint smile as she replied indifferently, "I hope you can still smile later." I'll wait and see." In the Tensei Prefecture's seating area, Chu Hen was secretly worried about another matter as he observed by Yu Yue's blade technique. In the past 14 matches, Huangwu's Luo Mengchong and Hao Yue's Long Xuan, whom Chu Hen was concerned about, had both successfully advanced to the top 16. Those who advanced to the top 16 were basically the more famous geniuses of the various martial houses. Imperial Martial Academy's overall strength was the strongest. Next was Imperial Wind. Besides Wei Qingfan, who had gotten off to a good start, 2 more people had advanced. One of them was a young girl. What Chu Hen was worried about was that after the battle in front of him ended, it would be the final battle of the first elimination round. Of the 32 contestants, only Shen Yunxi and Long Qingyang had yet to go on stage. In the end, the 2 of them formed a team. This was also what made Chu Hen feel uneasy. Bai Yue, if you're done messing around, then let's end this. At that moment, Fu Yuan's presence suddenly became abnormally powerful. He leapt up, and the surging sword aura rapidly gathered on his sword like 100 rivers flowing into a river. The space around him trembled slightly as the huge sword aura pressed down on Bai Yue like a mountain. The eyes of the Falcon Martial House members lit up as they sneered at Bai Yue. Looks like senior brother Fu Yuan has played enough. The last place will always be the last place. They were lucky enough to win 2 matches. Now that they've met someone stronger, they've shown their true colors. Senior brother Fu Yuan will win. However, just as Fu Yuan was about to unleash his sure-win attack, a sweet smile appeared on Bai Yue's beautiful face once again. When they saw the smile on her face, the Tensei Prefecture members felt a chill down their spines. All of them started to mourn for Fu Yuan in their hearts. Every time Bai Yue revealed a smile that was as gentle as a kitten, it meant that something tragic was about to happen. Swoosh! Bai Yue leapt into the air, her agile figure like a dragonfly. At the same time, an extremely strong aura was released from her body. The airflow within 100 meters became abnormally chaotic, and the strong cyclone from all directions immediately attacked Fu Yuan. The surging airflow formed a spiral, and it was as if Fu Yuan had fallen into an invisible vortex. Under the pressure of the cyclone, Fu Yuan's movement was obviously restricted. However, just as Fu Yuan was about to break through this obstacle, Bai Yue suddenly appeared in front of him. A bright light flashed, and Fu Yuan's pupil shrank. Bai Yue gently raised her wrist, and a light blade covered in a layer of silver light swept out like lightning. Shadow Moon Dance. Hiss, with a sharp, piercing momentum, a silver crescent moon that was more than 20 meters long descended from the sky, and with a shocking power, it flashed in front of Fu Yuan. Fu Yuan's body trembled, but in the next moment, Bai Yue dragged a series of afterimages in the air and directly changed her position. At the same time, a second silver crescent moon appeared between heaven and earth. This is... Everyone's expression changed drastically. Their eyes widened as they revealed astonishment on their faces. The crescent moon was like a hook, and its momentum was extremely strong. Every time Bai Yue waved her blade, a silver crescent moon that was more than 20 meters wide would appear between heaven and earth, and she would also change to another position, creating afterimages that were difficult to distinguish between the real and the fake. As for Fu Yuan, he was suppressed into an extremely small area. The strong airflow formed a vortex, and his entire body was under great pressure. The most important point was that Bai Yue's speed of waving her blade was extremely fast, and the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint. From afar, it looked like there were more than 10 Bai Yue besieging Fu Yuan, who was in the middle. The latter's momentum was completely suppressed, and it was almost impossible for him to fight back. The airflow in all directions was stirred up, and Bai Yue was like a phantom. In a short moment, she waved her blade 9 times in a row. The 9 crescent moon silver lights that pierced through heaven and earth were like lightning pillars that swept across the void. They were fleeting but dazzling. Shadow Moon Dance, 9 blade stream. After the 9 blade strikes, Bai Yue steadily landed on the stage. Fu Yuan also fell from the sky. Under the astonished gazes of tens of thousands of people, he directly smashed onto the ground. 9 ghastly wounds simultaneously burst out with fresh blood. Fu Yuan's body trembled, and his face was filled with intense pain and unwillingness. Bai Yue looked at him coldly. "You're too slow." Hua! In a split second, the whole audience burst into cheers. The people of Tensei Prefecture all stood up to celebrate, and the thunderous applause and cheers were like a surging tide. "Haha, senior sister Yue is too beautiful, amazing. Congratulations to senior sister Yue for making it to the top 16. Heavenly Star is mighty, Bai Yue will win." All 3 contestants had made it to the top 16. At this moment, everyone in Tensei Prefecture had an absolute reason to celebrate. Even the spectators of other high-ranked martial houses were amazed. Just now, Bai Yue completely relied on her advantage in speed to defeat Fu Yuan, and often in a battle between experts, speed was the key to victory. Of course, the most amazing thing was Bai Yue's exquisite blade skills. It was so perfect that there were almost no flaws. Fu Yuan's defeat in her hands was not at all undeserved. The people of Tensei Prefecture were excited, but the people of the Falcon Martial House were all silent, dejectedly carrying the immobile Fu Yuan away for treatment. Especially the dean of the Falcon Martial House. His old face was dark and ashen. If from today onwards, Tensei Prefecture was no longer the school of the bottom, then the school at the bottom would undoubtedly be replaced by the Falcon Martial House. Hee, old Falcon is probably going to die from anger. Imperial Martial House's dean, Guandu, who was specially set up in the north, said with a faint smile. "Didn't that guy from your Imperial Martial House also lose to that little guy, Heavenly Star?" Imperial Wind's dean, Yu Yin, casually replied. "So what? Your Imperial Wind's girl with the lunar battle physique also couldn't move because of that guy from Heavenly Star?" The two of them began to quarrel with each other. Everyone couldn't help but react. Imperial Martial and Imperial Wind, the first and second rank schools, had actually been abused by Heavenly Star. Amidst the celebrations, Bai Yue returned to Heavenly Star's seat. However, other than the Falcon Martial House, there were naturally others who were disdainful. What's there to be proud of? Wasn't he just lucky to meet some trash? Shun Xinwen, who was sitting in the Consonant's Martial House's seat, sneered in dissatisfaction. She still had hatred towards Chu Hen in her heart, but she also had the mentality of hate the house and its crow. She was also biased against the Tensei Prefecture. She then turned to Shin Yunshi beside her and said, "Brother, it's time for you and that Long Qingyang to go up next. That Long Qingyang is that arrogant guy's brother, so he's definitely not a good person. You must teach him a good lesson first." "That's right." Shang Zhe also chimed in. "Last time in St. Bell City, that Long Qingyang dared to openly provoke you, senior brother Shun. That time, he took advantage of you, and that's why they keep pushing their luck. This time, no matter what, we can't let him off so easily." Shen Yunshi only smiled in response to their words. No one could guess what he was thinking and what he was thinking. Chapter 203. In the blink of an eye, 15 matches of the top 32 had been fought. In the past 15 matches, Chu Hen, Xiao Yin, and Bai Yue from Tensei Prefecture had all defeated their opponents and made it to the top 16. The 16th match that was about to take place caused the atmosphere to become rowdy. One of the most popular contestants, Shun Yunshi, was about to take the stage. I believe that many in the audience can't hold back their excitement anymore. Lu Tong laughed heartily from the northern stands. "All right then, I'm afraid that I'll be disliked if I continue to spout nonsense. I hereby announce that the last match of the first round has begun. Let us welcome the two geniuses, Lingxi Shun Yunshi and Mammoth Long Qingyang, onto the stage." His voice was loud and impassioned. Boom! The atmosphere in the arena was like a flood that had broken through a dam, sweeping in all directions and igniting the crowd. Since Shun Yunshi was at the end of the queue, his supporters had been suppressing their restless emotions in their hearts. Now that they had vented their emotions, they were especially excited. Shun Yunshi will win. Shun Yunshi will be the champion. Shun Yunshi will be the strongest. As one of the most popular contestants on the Earth ranking this year, Long Qingyang's support was definitely higher than Long Qingyang's. Although there were also many who supported the latter, he was clearly at a disadvantage compared to Shen Yunqi. Amidst the cheers of the entire audience, Shen Yunqi's steps were calm and steady. He calmly walked from the consonant's martial house as spectator stands to the martial arena. His suave temperament, handsome face, and the faintly revealed sharp sword aura caused Shen Yunqi to be exceptionally dazzling, like the stars in the night sky. Long Qingyang also ascended the arena. He was also handsome and had a valiant aura between his brows. In the Tensei Prefecture spectator stands, Chu Hen narrowed his eyes, feeling a little worried. Given Long Qingyang's personality, he would definitely give it his all in this match, but the chances of him defeating Shen Yunqi and winning the match were slim. On the Bright Moon Academy side, Long Xuanchuang looked calm, but there was a hint of seriousness in her eyes. Long Qingyang, do your best. Shen Yunqi will win. Long Qingyang, I believe you can do it. Shen Yunqi, the absolute champion. Accompanied by the frenzied commotion, the aura emitted by the two combatants in the arena became vigorous and powerful. In contrast to Long Qingyang's cautiousness, Shen Yunqi was nonchalant and playful. Hee, if I were you, I would honestly give up now. Long Qingyang frowned and replied coldly. Don't you think too highly of yourself? I, Long Qingyang, am not a coward. Why would I be afraid of this arena? Long Qingyang was born in the general's residence of Raging Rain City. His grandfather was a famous general of the Sacred Star dynasty, and his father, Long Zhan, was also a man of indomitable spirit. In terms of character, Long Qingyang was very similar to Long Zhan in that they were both proud and unyielding. However, in Shen Yunqi's eyes, Long Qingyang's actions were laughable. In the Lingxi martial house audience, Shen Xinwen pursed her lips in disdain. He wants to fight Big Brother with that little ability? What a shameless boast. You two brothers are indeed the same, so arrogant and conceited, Shang Zhe sneered. Big Brother will soon show him what it means to be a coward. Make your move. Shen Yunqi raised his left hand with a playful smile on his face, as if he was going to let Long Qingyang take a few moves first. Don't look down on me. Hee, you're thinking too much. I'm not looking down on you, because you're not even worthy of my attention. His mocking voice pierced everyone's eardrums like needles. Buzz. Before he finished speaking, Long Qingyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. At the same time, raging red flames rose from his body. Shing! The heavy sound of metal reverberated in the air as a heavy halberd covered in green scales appeared in Long Qingyang's hand. What's that? The green scale halberd? Someone in the crowd exclaimed. That's right. That's Lu Xiao's spiritual weapon. Why is it in Long Qingyang's hands? Don't you know? Lu Xiao was killed by Chu Hen in yesterday's battle for the top 32. Even his weapon was taken by him. This green scale halberd was most likely given to Long Qingyang by Chu Hen. Damn, it can't be. Lu Xiao was killed by Chu Hen? Those who did not know about this could not help but find it hard to believe. One had to know that Lu Xiao was not like Yu, whose cultivation level was at the second stage of the core transformation realm. Lu Xiao, on the other hand, was a true second stage core transformation realm cultivator. Coupled with the power of the green scale halberd, his battle prowess was close to the third stage of the core transformation realm. Upon hearing this news, those who thought that Chu Hen was lucky to make it to the top 16 could not help but think otherwise. Buzz. Before the crowd could recover from their shock, Long Qingyang was already charging at Shen Yunqi with a green scale halberd in hand. A powerful aura rushed forth like a mountain torrent. The green scale's heavy halberd was surrounded by a dense green light, and the fine scales shone with a dazzling brilliance. Its aura was astonishing. Circles of dense green air swirled around the tip of the halberd, and an extremely powerful attack went straight for Shen Yunqi's chest. A grain of rice dares to compete with the sun and the moon? Shen Yunqi sneered disdainfully as he grabbed at the air with his right hand. A clearly visible golden sword aura instantly condensed into a gorgeous plum blossom in his palm. Shun Yunshi stretched out 2 fingers and held the plum blossom between his index and middle finger. He calmly faced the oncoming force head-on. Bang! The surface of the platform trembled, and a golden halo immediately spread out. The delicate golden plum blossom between Shun Yunshi's fingers had forcefully blocked the sharp and domineering edge of the green scale halberd. The appearance of this scene once again made the people who supported Shun Yunshi extremely excited. Long Qingyang had charged forward with great momentum, and with the boost from his spirit weapon, it was easy to imagine how powerful his attack was. However, it was blocked so easily by Shun Yunshi, which was truly surprising. Buzz, buzz. The tip of the halberd and the plum blossom constantly collided with each other, causing ripples of gentle light to appear from the center of the two. Long Qingyang frowned slightly as the blood vessels on his arm bulged. He felt as if the green scale halberd had struck a thick metal plate, unable to advance any further. That seemingly small and exquisite plum blossom actually contained such a huge amount of power. Is that all you've got? Did you not eat? Shun Yunshi teased. Oomph. Don't celebrate too early. Long Qingyang's eyes narrowed as he moved his palm. A ball of scorching flames extended along the halberd's body, the heat causing the surrounding space to faintly distort. In the blink of an eye, the raging flames pounced at Shun Yunshi like a ferocious beast. Hee, that's interesting. With a flick of his wrist, Shun Yunshi crushed the plum blossom between his fingers. With a muffled bang, the plum blossom was broken into 8 petals. The 8 petals then flew up, piercing through the flames like a sword and heading straight for Long Qingyang. Long Qingyang's expression changed slightly as he sensed the power contained within the 8 petals. As he withdrew the green scale halberd, he leaped into the air, jumping a dozen meters into the air. Surging flames surged out as Long Qingyang formed a seal with one hand, his powerful aura rising steadily. Flower rain falling heavenly flames. Buzz! In the next instant, hundreds of 1-meter-wide fireballs descended from the sky, covering the sky as they pounced at Shun Yunshi like a rain of fire. The sky was filled with a rain of fireballs. It was as beautiful as fireworks. Even the sky seemed to have dimmed a little. The audience below the stage all felt an incomparably scorching wave of air pressing down on them. It's just a small trick. It's just so. Shun Yunshi was unconcerned. With a flick of his sleeve, a powerful sword aura was released from his body. The sword aura, as stable as a mountain, formed a thick crescent shield in front of Shun Yunshi. The endless fireballs struck the shield one after another, only to be directly repelled. Bang, bang, bang. Heavy explosions rang out one after another. With Shun Yunshi at the center, charred holes appeared on the surface of the arena. Shun Yunshi did not feel the slightest threat after the first round of attacks. But at this moment, Long Qingyang's hand seals suddenly sped up several times, and the aura he exuded grew stronger. Buzz, buzz, incomparably scorching heat spread in all directions. Then, under everyone's shocked gazes, Long Qingyang opened his mouth slightly and spat out a solid fireball. Fire Dragon Dance. Roar. A deep dragon roar rang out in all directions, and a mighty aura shook the entire arena. The solid fireball rapidly grew in size as it flew towards Shun Yunshi, instantly transforming into a mighty blue fire dragon. The fire dragon bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it pounced towards Shun Yunshi, slamming into the crescent shield formed by the sword aura. Everyone's eyes were drawn to this gorgeous scene. Long Qingyang's battle technique was gorgeous and captivating. Crack! Shortly after, the energy sword shield in front of Shun Yunshi split into long, narrow cracks. Shun Yunshi's pupils shrank as his brows furrowed. Thud! At the same time, Long Qingyang landed on the ground. The moment he touched the ground, he leapt into the air like a ferocious beast pouncing on its prey. Long Qingyang charged straight at Shun Yunshi, his hands tightly gripping the halberd's middle section as he raised it above his head. The tip of the halberd was aimed straight at Shun Yunshi, like a spear piercing a fish. Rings of powerful flames quickly climbed up the halberd's body, and to everyone's astonishment, the red flames on Long Qingyang's body had strangely turned white. Chapter 204. What's that? The bone flame spirit fire? Everyone was astonished as they watched the transformation of the flames on Long Qingyang's body. The originally red flames had turned a strange white, and even the scorching heat had rapidly receded. However, the aura it emitted was several times stronger than before. The white bone flame spirit fire rapidly swirled around the green scales heavy halberd. Long Qingyang gripped the halberd with both hands and swung it down at Shen Yunxi with a force that could destroy mountains and rivers. The piercingly cold aura was peerless and domineering. Bang! Under everyone's surprised gazes, the unstoppable halberd slammed into Shen Yunxi's glowing sword shield. The shield, which had already been shattered by the dance of the fire dragon, could no longer withstand Long Qingyang's brutal attack. The sword protective shield immediately shattered. Good. The eyes of the giant elephant martial house students lit up as they excitedly clenched their fists. Even Chu Hen, who was in the Heavenly Star martial house's area, couldn't help but raise his eyebrows as a bright light flashed in his eyes. Long Qingyang had always used ordinary flames to fight, but who would have known that back in St. Bell City? Long Qingyang had subdued the seed of the bone flame spiritual fire and successfully evolved his burning flame martial body to the bone flame battle body. The white flames were the bone flame spirit fire. Although the flame did not seem to have any heat, in fact, its high temperature was all converged inside. Once touched, even steel would instantly melt into molten iron. Boom! The powerful attack broke through Shen Yunxi's defenses, but the halberd's momentum did not falter as it continued to slash at Shen Yunxi's chest with domineering bone flame spirit fire swirling around it. Just when some people thought that Shen Yunxi was going to suffer because of his carelessness, a sharp sword suddenly appeared in front of Shen Yunxi. Bang! The tip of the heavy green scales halberd directly smashed against the sword, and the surging impact caused the sword to bend into an arc. Then, with a loud bang, a terrifying sword momentum broke out from Shen Yunxi's body like a stormy sea. The curved sword blossomed with a dazzling golden light, then bounced back, sending Long Qingyang and his halberd flying backwards. Long Qingyang spun a few times in the air and retreated 40 to 50 meters before regaining his footing. On the other hand, Shen Yunxi did not move a single step. Compared to before, there was only a sharp longsword in his hand, and endless sword aura was constantly rising from his body. You now have the right to make me draw my sword. Shen Yunxi stared coldly at Long Qingyang in front of him, his cold and stern aura unwittingly terrifying. Another round of sighs and exclamations rang out in the audience. Shen Yunxi was Shen Yunxi after all. As one of the kings of popularity on this year's Earth list, his strength was not just for show. This person is so young, but he has already trained his swordsmanship to such a high level. It's really rare. On the northern spectator stand, the dean of Tifeng province, Yu Yin, nodded in admiration. That kid from the giant elephant martial house isn't bad either. Huangwu Ding Guandu added, I didn't expect to see a treasure like the Bone Flame Spirit Fire this year. Apart from the giant elephant martial house's Dean Quang Wei, the other deans narrowed their eyes with a trace of astonishment. Others might not know, but they all knew that the Bone Flame Spirit Fire was a flame formed from the bones, bloodline, and soul of a dead demonic beast. It was an extremely rare flame. It would take at least 500 years to 1,000 years for a fire seed to be formed. Moreover, ordinary people could not refine the Bone Flame Spirit Fire's fire seed. Only Wu Xiao, who possessed a fire attribute bloodline, could devour it. Needless to say, the hardships he faced during this period were obvious. In truth, everyone had only seen Long Qingyang's magnificent battle technique, but no one had imagined the hardships he had gone through. That was the reason why Long Qingyang wouldn't give up so easily. I believe it won't take more than a few years for this kid to become a great person. However, Huangwu Din Guan Du paused for a moment before turning to the silent spirit Rhino Din Su Shi and saying meaningfully, "Not only are his opponents stronger than him, but they are also extremely dangerous. Big Brother will definitely win. Show him your power," Shen Xinwen shouted. Her face was filled with pride, as if she wanted to tell everyone that she was Shun Yunxi's little sister. In the arena, both of them exuded an unusually powerful aura. Long Qingyang didn't look too optimistic, his eyes cold as he held the cyan scale halberd behind his back. Shun Yunxi pointed his sword at his opponent, a cold gale rising from his feet. "Come, let me see what your strongest move is. If you don't use your strongest attack, then..." Shun Yunxi's tone suddenly rose. "You won't have a chance anymore." Everyone's expressions changed when they sensed Shun Yunxi's undisguised killing intent. Long Qingyang's Bone Blaze Spirit Fire had already made Shun Yunxi want to kill him. If Long Qingyang was allowed to continue growing, it wasn't impossible for the Bone Blaze Spirit Fire to evolve into a profound body. Such a threat couldn't be allowed to live. "Long Qingyang, get down." A cold female voice suddenly rang out from the Bright Moon Academy. Everyone was stunned. The one who said that was Long Xuanxuang. Even though Long Xuanxuang was known as the Ice Beauty and had never called Long Qingyang Big Brother before, they were still family. She didn't want to watch Long Qingyang die to Shun Yunxi's sword. Chu Hen, who was seated in the Tensei Prefecture seats, couldn't help but clench his fists. He wanted to dissuade Long Qingyang, but he swallowed his words. He knew Long Qingyang's personality. He wouldn't give up until the very end, even if there was only a sliver of hope. Just as expected, Long Qingyang paid no attention to Long Xuanxuang as the aura emanating from his body grew stronger. In the next instant, white flames soared into the sky like a tidal wave that was dozens of meters high. Long Qingyang, Long Xuanxuang coldly barked once again. "Shut up. I'm your big brother. You have no right to decide my affairs." Long Qingyang roared angrily as he stared coldly at Shun Yunxi, who had a frivolous smile on his face. "Perhaps you really should listen to your sister. It's better to be a coward than to lose your life," Long Qingyang said disdainfully. "I also told you to shut up." Long Qingyang had no intention of backing down, even though he knew that Shun Yunxi was trying to goad him into action. In an instant, endless white flames gathered above Long Qingyang's head, enveloping the entire arena with a mountainous aura. The crowd couldn't help but narrow their eyes at the sight of Long Qingyang's aura. It seemed like Long Qingyang wasn't just trying to show off, he had a powerful trump card up his sleeve. "Shun Yunxi, don't look down on me. Do you think I, Long Qingyang, am as weak as you think I am?" Bone Flame, Flaming Dragon Dance. Bone Flame, Flaming Dragon Dance. Rumble. A violent gust of wind rose with the force of thunder. In a split second, countless people in the audience felt a strong pressure. Roar. The peerless roar of the dragon hurt the eardrums of countless people. In the next instant, a white fire dragon that was nearly 100 meters long rose into the sky. Then, with an incomparably powerful pressure, it swooped down towards Shun Yunxi. Sand and stones flew from the arena, and thick tiles flew into the air. Wherever the fire dragon formed by the bone flame, spiritual fire went, the space would tremble. The audience gasped in surprise once again. Shun Yunxi was probably feeling the pressure at this moment. In the face of the menacing attack, Shun Yunxi's face showed a hint of caution that he had never shown before. I've underestimated you, but you're wrong if you think you can beat me like this." Buzz. Before his voice faded, a gentle blue light suddenly bloomed in front of Shun Yunxi. "What's that?" "The water curse seal. It can't be wrong. It's the water curse seal of St. Bell City." Everyone's eyes lit up, and their faces were filled with envy. The crystal-clear water sigil, which looked like a blue-glazed crystal, erupted with an incomparably resplendent light. Boom! Along with a surging aura, a huge ball of water immediately enveloped Shun Yunxi. The huge ball of water glowed with a crystalline luster, protecting Shun Yunxi from all directions. When the white fire dragon attacked with a terrifying might, A screen of water rose into the sky like a tsunami. Rumble. In the next moment, the ferocious and domineering flaming dragon hit the water curtain, and the furious power collided, directly shocking the audience. Circles of blue water ripples bloomed on the stage, and the entire arena shook. The aftermath of the chaotic shockwaves surged toward the spectator stands in all directions, and everyone felt the immense pressure of that enormous power. Roar! The flaming dragon formed by the bone flame, spiritual fire penetrated the towering curtain of water, and then its attack did not slow down. Under everyone's shocked gazes, it fiercely hit the huge ball of water. The violent lethality was like a mountain, and the moment the two collided, the sky darkened. Circles of blue water ripples and white flames swept in all directions. The huge ball of water that enveloped Shun Yunshi was violently restless, as if there was a terrifying undercurrent surging inside. At this moment, everyone's hearts were in their mouths. Apart from Chu Hen and Long Xuan, who looked solemn, even Wei Qing Fan, Yao Zhan, Luo Mingshang, Xiao Yin, Bai Yuyue, and many other contestants in the top 16 looked cautious. Chapter 2:05. Boom! An incomparably violent energy instantly burst out from the battle stage, and the powerful impact was like a torrent colliding with a mountain. In that instant, the entire world dimmed a little. Ripples of blue water and white flames swept out in all directions, violently shaking the giant ball of water that enveloped Shun Yunshi. There seemed to be an undercurrent surging within it, making it exceptionally uneasy. No one dared to underestimate Long Qingyang at the sight of this scene. The destructive power of such an attack was truly frightening. An incomparably heavy explosion rang out. Under countless horrified gazes, the water ball that enveloped Shun Yunshi was forcefully blown apart from middle. The piercingly cold airflow was mixed with an incomparably cold chill. Countless crystal-clear water ripples instantly bloomed like fireworks, wantonly spreading in all directions. He actually broke through the defense of the water curse seal. Amazing! Long Qingyang is actually so powerful. Along with the astonishment of the audience, the earth-shattering bone blaze spiritual fire surged towards Shun Yunshi, who was exposed in the air. Humph, what a surprise! Shun Yunshi's sword aura rose as sharp sword aura swam around his body, his cold eyes flashing with a chilling light. I now declare that you, Long Qingyang, are qualified to be my opponent. You are worthy for me to use my full strength. Use my full strength? What? Everyone was shocked once again. Soon after, torrential sword aura swiftly gathered in Shun Yunshi's sword. The dazzling golden light, so dazzling that it seemed as if it had been soaked in the radiance of the sun. In the next moment, Shun Yunshi raised his hand and slashed out. HSS. The white bone blaze, spiritual fire, was like a river that had been split apart as an incomparably solid sword aura pierced out with irresistible force, causing space to tremble wherever it passed. Single yuan slash. The surging power stirred the airflow in the arena, the rapid rumbling of waves exceptionally sharp. Long Qingyang's pupils shrank as a dense aura of danger assaulted him. He hurriedly raised the heavy green scales halberd in front of him. Bang! The powerful sword light slashed down, and a bright light spread out. Long Qingyang, who had almost used up all of his Zhen Yuan, shuddered violently. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and the halberd flew out of his hand. Binary slash. As soon as Shun Yunshi's voice fell, a sword light that was even more powerful than before swept over again. On the Tensei Prefecture's seats, Chu Hen's face changed dramatically, and he could not help but clench his fists. On the Bright Moon School's side, Long Xuan frowned, her beautiful face full of shock. Boom! A second ray of sword light slammed into Long Qingyang's body, sending him flying as a bone-deep gash ran from his shoulder to his chest. Blood sprayed everywhere as Long Qingyang's eyes bulged and his face turned red with anger. It's over. A cold smile appeared on Shun Yunshi's face. 3. Origin. Slash. Swish. The rapid wind pierced the eardrums of everyone present. Looking at the resplendent sword light that traversed the entire arena, it was like a stream of light that had lasted for thousands of years, emitting a boundless killing intent. At the same time, Chu Hen and Long Xuan swiftly flew down from their seats. However, the spectators' stands were quite a distance away from the arena. Before the two of them could do anything to stop it, the third fatal sword ray struck Long Qingyang's body. Ah! Long Qingyang screamed in pain as a second gash appeared on his chest. This sword strike was even more lethal than the previous two strikes. The audience below the stage could vaguely see the internal organs through the bloody wound. Vicious. Everyone felt a chill run down their spines. Long Qingyang's chances of survival were very slim at this level of injury. 3 strikes in a row sent Long Qingyang flying off the stage. However, a second before Long Qingyang hit the ground, he was caught by Chu Hen. Long Qingyang. Long Xuan also arrived in front of the two. Long Qingyang's body was twitching violently as blood gushed out, dyeing Chu Hen's hands red. Quick, second sister, use your mysterious ice chi to freeze his wound. Chu Hen hurriedly said. Long Xuan clenched her fists and released a wisp of mysterious ice chi towards Long Qingyang. The latter's body trembled as the blood in his wound quickly froze. Then, Chu Hen moved his palm, and a beautiful red lotus suddenly appeared in his hand. What's that? The blood crystal lotus? A cry of surprise rang out from the audience. Shun Xinwen, Shang Zhe, and the others in the Consonance Martial House's spectator stands all had cold looks on their faces when they saw the blood crystal lotus. The reason why they had a grudge against Chu Hen was because of this blood crystal lotus. However, seeing Long Qingyang half dead after being beaten by Shun Yunxi made them feel exceptionally happy. Chu Hen immediately crushed the blood crystal lotus into a ball of powder and poured it into Long Qingyang's mouth. Long Qingyang's condition visibly stabilized after consuming the blood crystal lotus, but he soon fell unconscious. Qingyang. Long Qingyang's good friends, Su Chuan, and the others also ran down from the giant elephant martial house's spectator stands. Su Chuan was furious at the sight of Long Qingyang's weak aura and fainted state. He pointed at Shun Yunxi and said, Shun, aren't you a little too ruthless? Everyone turned to look at Shun Yunxi again. Apart from the 5 great deans in the northern stands, everyone else's gazes towards him had changed. There was caution, fear, indignation, but most of all there was amazement. Interesting. Wei Qingfan's eyes narrowed slightly as he muttered to himself. If everything goes according to plan, my final opponent will most likely be you. Yao Zhan let out a soft sigh as he thought to himself. This person is indeed a strong opponent. I'll have to be careful if I meet him. Shun Yunxi's lips curled into a mocking smile in response to Su Chuan's question. I've already said that I'll take his life. You. Su Chuan frowned, but could not refute him. Killing was allowed in the All-Academy martial competition. After all, swords had no eyes, and anything could happen. Even if Shun Yunxi killed Long Qingyang on the spot, no one would be able to hold him responsible. Chu Hen's eyes surged with an incomparably cold gloom. I'm the one you want to target, so why vent your anger on others? He well said. Shun Yunxi did not seem to care. He glanced at Chu Hen, then slowly walked towards the green scales halberd that Long Qingyang had dropped on the stage. Although the relationship between me and Lu Xiao hasn't reached the point where I would avenge him, however, you guys really don't deserve this green scales halberd. Shortly after, Shun Yunxi lifted his foot and lightly kicked the heavy green scales halberd. Shangze. Swish. The green scales halberd left a long trail in the air as it flew towards the Lingxi martial house's spectator stands. Shangze's eyes lit up as he hurriedly got up and caught the halberd in his hand. Ha! Thank you, senior brother Yunxi. Shangze was extremely pleased, and the surrounding crowd was filled with envy. One must know that the green scales halberd was a spirit weapon that countless people coveted. As Shangze put away the halberd, he did not forget to throw a disdainful look at Chu Hen. Chu Hen knew very well that Shun Yunxi's actions were undoubtedly telling him that the old scores from St. Bell City had yet to be settled. The atmosphere of the arena seemed to have frozen and tensed up. Pride and chilliness rose from Shun Yunxi and Chu Hen's bodies, and the air seemed to be filled with the smell of gunpowder. Cough, cough. At this moment, a cough sounded from the northern stands. Lu Tong saw that something was about to happen and hurriedly took control of the situation. 16 exciting matches have finally come to an end. First of all, I must congratulate the geniuses who made it to the top 16. The atmosphere in the arena became a little livelier as everyone turned to look at Lu Tong, subconsciously sweeping their eyes over Wei Qingfan, Yao Zhan, Xiao Yin, Luo Mengshang, and the other contestants who had advanced. The first round of the qualifiers is more or less over. However, I believe that everyone here is very much looking forward to the matches between the top 16 and the top 8 tomorrow. Therefore, I have made a decision on my own, and that is to announce the groups of the 8 matches tomorrow. Wow. As soon as he said that, everyone in the arena immediately agreed with him. Every one of them had a look of anticipation on their faces. Lu Tong smiled and turned to look at the deans of the 5 academies. He nodded slightly and then injected his true origin energy into the Clearwater mirror beside him. Buzz, buzz. In an instant, the Clearwater mirror emitted a gentle glow. The names of the 16 students who had advanced to the next round began to change their positions freely. Stop! Lu Tong shouted softly. Immediately, under everyone's expectant gazes, the 16 names began to be divided into 8 groups, with 2 people in each group. Lingxi, Shun Yunxi. Looking at the first name of the first group, the audience was a little surprised. They did not expect that they would be ranked first in the first round after the first round. Then, everyone stared closely at the second name. When the second name fell into a state of stillness, there was a commotion in the arena. Everyone was no longer calm. They only saw that beside Shun Yunxi's name, it was astonishingly heavenly star, Chu Hen. Boom! All sorts of uproar broke out. The audience could not help but wonder if Lu Tong was doing this on purpose. Isn't this too inconceivable? Shun Yunxi's eyes narrowed as a cruel sneer appeared on his lips. At that moment, Chu Hen slowly rose to his feet and aimed his blood-stained right fist at Shun Yunxi. Everyone was stunned by Chu Hen's action. Chu Hen pointed his index finger at his opponent, his provocation obvious. His throat moved as he coldly spat out a few words. This blood debt must be repaid. Chapter 206. Half the sky was dyed red by the setting sun in the evening. The nightlife in the capital had just begun. Compared to the hustle and bustle of the day, the city was brightly lit at night, making it seem even more prosperous. Everyone was talking enthusiastically about the first round of the Earth Ranking Tournament that had just ended in the day. This year's tournament isn't any less exciting than last year's. I think so too. The Earth Ranking Tournament is already this exciting. I can only imagine how high the sky ranking will go. Shun Yunxi versus Chu Hen in the first match tomorrow. It's going to be interesting. What's there to see? Even Long Qingyang was beaten half to death by Shun Yunxi. I wonder if he's still alive. Do you think Chu Hen will be a match for Shun Yunxi? That's hard to say. You didn't see Chu Hen today. His eyes are like those of savage beast. There's bound to be a fierce battle tomorrow. In any case, I don't think Chu Hen has a chance. Even 2 of him won't be a match for Shun Yunxi. I think so too. While all the busybodies in the city were discussing the results of tomorrow's tournament, Chu Hen, Long Xuan, Su Chuan, and a few others were anxiously waiting in the corridor of a room in the giant elephant martial house. All of them were silent, and their brows were tightly knitted together. An anxious and uneasy atmosphere floated in the air. How is it? A gentle female voice suddenly sounded from outside. Shun Yu had appeared at the entrance of the courtyard. When she saw Chu Hen and the others, she hurried over to ask, "How is senior brother Qingyang?" As a fellow giant elephant martial house student, it was not strange for Yu Qinyu to be here. Chu Hen shook his head with a gloomy look on his face. "Don't worry. Elder Gu is the most skilled doctor in our school. With him around, he'll definitely be fine." Yu Chenyu had just learned that the medical elder of the martial house, Elder Gu, was treating Long Qingyang. She was here to see the results. Chu Hen squeezed out a smile and nodded lightly. Since young, Long Qingyang had always played the role of an older brother. Even though they weren't related by blood, their bond was no less than that of biological brothers. Long Qingyang's setback this year had something to do with Chu Hen. After all, Long Qingyang and Shen Yunxi didn't have a grudge against each other. A large part of the reason was because of him, which was why Chu Hen blamed himself so much. Creak! Suddenly, the door behind him opened. Everyone's hearts lit up, and they quickly turned around. Accompanied by a pungent smell of herbs, two middle-aged men walked out of the room. One of them was Long Qingyang and Su Chuan's direct mentor, Yushan. There was another person who was slightly plump, slightly older, and had an amiable face. "How is Qingyang, Elder Gu?" Su Chuan was the first to ask. "His life is no longer in danger." Hearing these words, everyone immediately heaved a long sigh of relief. Their taut heartstrings were finally relaxed. He was fine. Chu Hen couldn't help but exchange glances with Long Xuan, and they both saw the relief in each other's eyes. "I told you, with Elder Gu around, he'll definitely be fine." Yu Chenyu patted Chu Hen's shoulder lightly, feeling happy for him. "Ha! You think too highly of me, lass." Elder Gu smiled warmly, then looked at Chu Hen and Long Xuan. "Fortunately, the two of you treated him in time, and with the help of the blood crystal lotus, he managed to survive. Otherwise, even the most skilled doctor in the capital wouldn't have been able to save him, much less me." Chu Hen's eyes narrowed, and a cold glint flashed across his eyes. He then asked, "Elder Gu, can we go in and see him?" "You'd better not." The one who spoke was Teacher Yushan. He raised his hand slightly and said, "Qingyang is currently very weak. It's best not to disturb him for the next few days. I'll send a few students over to keep an eye on him later, and if anything happens, I'll inform you." Chu Hen nodded gratefully. "Thank you, Teacher Yushan." Yushan heaved a sigh of relief, and there was a hint of appreciation in his eyes as he looked at Chu Hen. To be honest, after 2 or 3 interactions, Yushan had a basic understanding of Chu Hen, and he didn't dislike him. "The two of you should go back and rest as soon as possible. Both of you have matches tomorrow," Yushan said to Chu Hen and Long Xuan. The round of 16 was even more difficult, especially for Chu Hen, whose opponent was Shen Yunxi. Everyone had witnessed the latter's strength today. Although Chu Hen's battle prowess was far above the element linking stage 9, his chances of winning were pitifully small. "Teacher is right. You two should go back and rest. I'll keep an eye on Qingyang from here." Su Chuan echoed, "Thank you." Chu Hen cupped his fists, expressing his gratitude. Then he bid farewell to Long Xuan. Yu Chenyu hesitated for a moment, but also left with the two. By the time they left the mammoth martial house, the sky was almost dark. A gust of night wind blew, carrying with it a cold chill. "Are you really going to participate in tomorrow's match?" Long Xuan, who hadn't said a word, suddenly asked. Yu Chenyu, who was at the side, also looked at Chu Hen with astonishment. Chu Hen let out a deep breath of relief. Looking at the dusky sky, his handsome outline faintly revealed a trace of unswerving determination. "Yes." It was a simple answer. Long Xuan frowned, a hint of seriousness on her beautiful face. "Since you know that Shen Yunxi is targeting you, why are you putting on a brave front like Long Qingyang?" "Putting on a brave front?" Chu Hen smiled faintly, as if he didn't think he was putting on a brave front at all. "You should forfeit tomorrow," Long Xuan said. Chu Hen didn't answer, but his eyes were gloomy. "I don't want to see another person lying in a room needing to be taken care of. I'll think about it." Chu Hen smiled, then said to Yu Chenyu, "We're going back to the school. You should go too." "That." Yu Chenyu's beautiful eyes wandered, her delicate eyebrows slightly raised. "I'm not staying in the school. I'm going back to the general's mansion. It's on the way to Tensei Prefecture." Chu Hen didn't think much of it, then said to Long Xuan, "Then we'll be going first." With that, he left on his own. As she watched the two leave, Long Xuan felt like there was a huge rock in her heart. She could only shake her head and sigh helplessly. People were coming and going on the streets. It was especially lively. Chu Hen and Yu Chenyu walked side by side, their shoulders bumping against each other from time to time. How about we go get something to eat? Yu Chenyu asked softly. Chu Hen shook his head. He didn't have much of an appetite at the moment. But I'm so hungry. Just treat it as if you're accompanying me. With that, Yu Chenyu grabbed Chu Hen's arm and pulled him towards a busy street, not caring if he agreed or not. Chu Hen was a little speechless. This woman was a little bossy. I say, Miss Chenyu, aren't you afraid of people gossiping about you holding a man's hand in public? What's there to be afraid of? Do you think I, Yu Chenyu, am afraid of not being able to get married? That's true. Chu Hen was a little amused. You're not afraid of not being able to get married, but I'm afraid that your man will come after me in the future. What do you mean by that? Isn't it just holding hands? If that's the case, that man is too petty. I'll just kick him away. Chu Hen couldn't help but laugh at Yu Chenyu's words, and his mood improved. We're here. This is the restaurant. The food is super delicious. Yu Chenyu's large eyes lit up, making her look as cute as a gluttonous cat. Chu Hen smiled. In front of him was a luxuriously decorated restaurant. It had a first floor and a second floor. It was brightly lit, and the strong aroma of delicious food constantly drifted out from inside, causing people's appetite to increase. Just as Yu Chenyu was about to lead Chu Hen in, a familiar yet piercing voice sounded from the second floor. Haha, that Long Qingyang really deserves to die. Of all people, he offended him. He actually dared to provoke our senior brother Yin Shi. Let's see if he still dares to provoke us in the future after we teach him a lesson. That's right. Junior sister Xinwen, you've finally vented your anger, haven't you? That Long Qingyang is nothing. I'll only let it go when I see Big Brother teach that bastard Chu Hen a lesson tomorrow. Junior sister Xinwen, don't worry. A mere Chu Hen isn't even worthy of carrying senior brother Yin Shi's shoes. Tomorrow, you'll see how pitiful he looks when senior brother Yin Shi beats him to the ground. The voices from upstairs spread to the surrounding streets without any hesitation. Although many people nearby were dissatisfied and thought that they were too loud, when they heard the three words Shan Yun Shi, they only dared to be angry but did not dare to say anything. Yu Chenyu frowned and stopped in her tracks. She grabbed Chu Hen's wrist and said, Let's go to another restaurant. I know a good one. However, Chu Hen was unmoved, his handsome face filled with coldness. No, we'll go to this one. The second floor was brightly lit. Near the balcony, there were 5 or 6 young men and women chatting and drinking around a table full of delicious food. Shangzhe, you're really lucky today. Senior brother Yun, she even gave you the green scale halberd. You don't have to say anything. Today's meal is on you. A young man squinted his eyes and smiled, his tone filled with envy. Shangzhe, who was sitting beside Xinwen, looked relaxed and proud. No problem. It's a pity that senior brother Yun, she has to prepare for tomorrow's competition. Otherwise, I'd definitely toast him. If I don't get it, it's just a trash like Chu Hen. What's there for senior brother Yun, she to prepare for? Aren't you overestimating that guy? Xinwen rolled her eyes and said disdainfully, Trash like him isn't even worthy of my brother's attention. My brother is preparing for the next few competitions. I knew it. Come, let's celebrate. Senior brother Yun, she will definitely be the champion of the Earthboard competition. Everyone was in high spirits and raised their glasses together. However, at this moment, a sudden gust of wind caused everyone's heart to tremble. What's going on? Everyone was shocked. Before they could react, a sharp blade of air flew towards them like a bolt of lightning. Bang! The round table in front of everyone was directly split into 2 halves. A powerful shockwave spread out, and several people were shaken and fell backwards. The delicacies on the table, including the bowls, chopsticks, and plates, fell to the ground. Which idiot is causing trouble here? Shangzhe scolded angrily. Before he finished speaking, a young figure suddenly appeared on the balcony of the second floor. Chapter 207. It's me, The cold voice was as sharp and piercing as a cold light. When Shun Xinwen, Shang Zhe, Lin Hai, and the rest saw the newcomer, their expressions immediately changed. Chu Hen. Lin Hai's eyes darkened as he pointed at the newcomer and angrily rebuked, "What are you doing here?" "Humph." Chu Hen sneered as his brows were filled with playfulness. His figure moved as he raised his palm and struck toward the other party. "You." Lin Hai was startled as he did not expect the other party to attack so suddenly. He clenched his teeth and faced the other party's palm attack head-on. "Humph, don't be arrogant here." However, when Lin Hai came into contact with Chu Hen's powerful palm attack, he finally understood how great the gap between them was. With a bang, Lin Hai was directly sent flying as if he had been hit by a mountain. He smashed another table and chair as he vomited a large mouthful of blood. "Bastard!" On the other side, Shang Zhe was enraged as a sharp sword appeared in his hand. Without a word, he raised his sword and stabbed towards Chu Hen. "I want your life." "Humph, you dare to stand out with just this little ability." Chu Hen's face was filled with disdain as his hand swiftly stretched out and grabbed the other party's wrist with lightning speed. Subsequently, his palm moved. Crack! The sound of bones breaking was exceptionally clear as a painful scream rang out from Shang Zhe's mouth. Chu Hen lifted his leg and kicked the other party's abdomen. Bang! Shang Zhe directly fell heavily onto the ground and could not even get up. Immediately after, the other people also charged towards Chu Hen as a biting cold and powerful aura rose from their bodies. "Chu Hen, you little thief, don't be too arrogant. Die." A bunch of useless good-for-nothings dare to speak so boldly here. Before his voice faded, an incomparably overbearing aura leaked out from Chu Hen's body. A dense black halo was like ripples on the surface of water as it instantly spread out in all directions. Bang, bang, bang. Along with a few overlapping muffled sounds, the powerful shockwave swept out with a sweeping momentum, sending several other people flying. One by one, they fell to the ground, coughing up blood, unable to get up. The other guests around them were so scared that they hid at the back. Shun Xinwen was the only one who didn't make a move. She glared at Chu Hen furiously. "What do you want to do?" "Chu Hen, I'm telling you, you're dead meat tomorrow. My brother won't let you off." Whoosh! A heavy metallic sound rang out in the air. Before Shun Xinwen could finish cursing, she felt a cold sensation on her throat. A sharp spear was already pressed against her neck. Shun Xinwen's whole body instantly turned cold, and a great panic appeared on her face. At this moment, the aura emanating from Chu Hen's body was so cold that it was terrifying. "If you dare to say another word, I will kill you," Chu Hen shouted in a deep voice. Shun Xinwen was trembling in fear, and her face was as pale as paper. Chu Hen, how dare you?" Lin Hai and the others who crawled up from the ground were extremely angry. Pairs of eyes filled with anger stared fiercely at Chu Hen. Chu Hen sneered, and his eyelids twitched slightly. He said in an indifferent tone, "I'll give you half an hour. Get Shen Yunxi to come here immediately." "What did you say?" Lin Hai clenched his fists, and his face was full of astonishment. "Tell Shen Yunxi that if he doesn't come in half an hour, this spear will definitely pierce through this woman's throat." "You still not going to scram?" Chu Hen's shout directly scared the few of them to the point that they scrambled and ran towards the staircase. "Junior Xinwen, don't be afraid. I will get Senior Yunxi to come here." Immediately, Lin Hai and another person hurriedly left, and the others guarded the place, not daring to move. If anything happened to Shun Xinwen, they would not have a good life. Yu Chenyu, who had just reached the stairs, was stunned by the scene in front of her before she could finish her sentence. In just the time it took to go up the stairs, Chu Hen had already caused such a mess. "What are you doing?" "Doing what I have to do," Chu Hen replied indifferently, and then withdrew the Demon Punisher spear from Shun Xinwen's throat. The latter's legs weakened, and she immediately fell to the ground. Junior Xinwen. A few people from the Lingxi Martial House wanted to step forward. However, Chu Hen's cold voice once again stopped them. "Who dares to take a step near her?" Their expressions changed again, and they immediately retreated, not daring to provoke Chu-Hen. Chu-Hen, let's go back. Stop messing around. If there's anything, we can settle it tomorrow. Yuchenyu somewhat regretted bringing Chu-Hen here. She didn't think that a group of people from the Spirit Rhino Marshall House would coincidentally be here. She also didn't think that Chu-Hen would hold Shen Xinwen as a hostage and wait for Shen Yunqi to arrive. Chu-Hen did not speak, and only quietly stood on the balcony, coldly looking at the wide street below. More and more people were attracted by the commotion here. The people coming and going all surrounded the restaurant, whispering and discussing in low voices. Shen Xinwen, who sat paralyzed on the ground, felt anger and hatred in her heart. She looked at the cold figure of Chu-Hen and suddenly felt an indescribable uneasiness. What's going on? Could it be that I'm afraid that my brother will lose to him? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Shen Xinwen shook her head and secretly cursed. Humph, when my brother comes, let's see how you die. Time passed minute by minute. The entire street was already filled with hundreds of people. At this moment, a figure with a strong aura suddenly attacked this side. Everyone was shocked. The swift and fierce sword aura was like a whirlwind that swept through the clouds. In the next moment, a young man appeared on the street below the restaurant. When this person appeared, the surrounding people could not help but take a few steps back. Brother, Shen Xinwen, who sat paralyzed beside Chu-Hen, looked as if she had seen her savior and was overjoyed. Shen Yunqi's face was covered with frost, and his gloomy eyes were like sharp swords as he looked at the figure holding the spear. Do you want to die so badly? Humph. Chu-Hen frivolously replied with a trace of a cold smile, and his right hand gripped the demon punisher's spear tightly and pointed it at the other party. Shen Yunqi, there's no need to wait until tomorrow for our battle. Draw your sword. Ha ha ha. Shen Yunqi wantonly laughed loudly, and his laughter was filled with dense mockery. Chu-Hen, you think too highly of yourself. Do you think you are worthy of my sword? Heh, I hope you can still laugh later. Buzz. In an instant, a strange energy wave was released from Chu-Hen's body, and together with the incomparably overbearing black true energy, strands of demonic purple light quickly gushed out of his body. The resplendent purple light extended towards the spear like vines. The surrounding onlookers were all shocked. The aura that Chu-Hen emitted was indeed only at the 9th level of the element opening stage, but the intensity of the turbulence produced by his true energy far exceeded his cultivation level. What's going on? Such overbearing, true energy. Is this the power of the bloodline boundary? Seeing the purple and black light surrounding Chu-Hen's body, Shen Yunqi's eyebrows slightly wrinkled. A killing intent flashed through his cold eyes. Since you are so eager to die, how can I not fulfill your wish? Before he finished speaking, Shen Yunqi's palm condensed, and an exquisite and resplendent plum blossom directly flew out. A powerful aura whistled towards Chu-Hen. Humph! Chu-Hen's eyes turned cold, and with a flick of his spear, he directly shattered the balcony railing. Then he leaped down, and with the momentum of his cold spear, he directly shattered the plum blossom into powder. Such an astonishing aura. The surrounding onlookers were secretly shocked. Chu-Hen steadily landed on the ground, and then his figure moved, brandishing the 3-feet-long spear and directly attacking Shen Yunqi in front of him. Humph, don't think that you are qualified to challenge me just because you accidentally made it into the top 16. Shen Yunqi's sword energy rose, and with a flick of his finger, a solid petal flashed like a meteor in the night, flying towards Chu-Hen's spear. Bang! Shen Yunqi originally thought that with the great disparity in cultivation level, this attack would be enough to force back Chu-Hen. However, to everyone's surprise, the moment the petal came into contact with the purple spear light, it once again exploded into scattered light spots. In the next second, the sharp tip of the spear had already arrived in front of Shen Yunqi. The latter was slightly startled, and with a step to the right, he easily dodged Chu-Hen's attack. Then, Shen Yunqi raised his hand and slapped the front of the spear, shaking it away. Bang! A circle of water ripples spread out between the two, and Chu Hen turned around. The Demon Punisher spear also completed a 360-degree rotation and then swept towards his opponent with a sweeping momentum. Sun Yunshi did not expect Chu Hen's reaction to be so fast, and before he could even occupy a favorable distance, his opponent's next round of attack followed. Humph! I want to see how much ability you have. Facing the spear that swept over from the right, Sun Yunshi directly stretched out his right palm to grab it. Boom! The spear and the palm collided, and a tyrannical force immediately shook the air. Sun Yunshi only felt his arm go numb, and the sword aura that covered his palm was shattered and repelled. The spear that was surrounded by purple light seemed to have the strength of 1,000 caddies, and was extremely powerful. Sun Yunshi dodged again. However, Chu Hen did not intend to give his opponent any time to stabilize his body. The Demon Punisher spear exploded with a terrifying aura, and more than 10 solidified spear shadows tore through the air, all attacking his opponent. Facing such a threatening attack, Sun Yunshi no longer cared about what he said just now, and with a move of his palm, he summoned his sword. With a shake of the sword, an arc of sword light that was more than 10 meters wide shot out and directly collided with the powerful spear shadows. Bang! A series of sword chi and spear shadows exploded in the air, and the powerful aftermath caused the surrounding onlookers to retreat far away. This level of battle was enough to affect the area within 100 meters. Heh, is this what you mean by not having the right to use your sword? Chu Hen sneered mockingly and said. Sun Yunshi's face darkened, and his killing intent surged. Endless sword aura pressed towards Chu Hen in an overwhelming manner. Brat, I want your life. Chapter 208. Brat, I'm going to kill you. On the wide main street where the crowd was watching, Sun Yunshi's killing intent stacked up. Endless sword force covered the sky and covered the earth as it pressed towards Chu Hen. Chu Hen held a spear in his hand. His spear's power was like the wind as countless spear shadows appeared and clashed head-on with his opponent. One of his swordsmanship was swift and fierce. The other spear technique was shocking and thunderous. The commotion caused by the duel between Sun Yunshi and Chu Hen attracted the attention of the crowd. What's going on? What's going on? Who's fighting over there? Sun Yunshi and Chu Hen. Tomorrow's quarterfinal match has been brought forward. F*C Kami, no way. Is Chu Hen that unlucky? He bumps into Sun Yunshi on the street. Don't spout nonsense if you don't know anything. Chu Hen pressed his spear against Sun Xinwen's throat and asked Sun Yunshi to come here. There's a reason why Chu Hen is so angry. Those people upstairs were too noisy. Chu Hen happened to pass by and heard them scolding Long Qingya. I see. But Chu Hen will die if he offends Sun Yunshi like that. He's too arrogant. Sword chi collided and spear light intersected. All sorts of inner force clashed with each other, creating shockwaves. The dazzling sword light and spear shadows crisscrossed, dazzling the onlookers. The crowd was watching from a few dozen meters away. No one dared to approach. On the balcony of the restaurant, Yu Chenyu, Sun Xinwen, and Shang Zhe watched the duel below with different expressions. Yu Chenyu bit her red lips and frowned slightly. There was an indescribable worry in her soft and clear eyes. Sun Xinwen, Shang Zhe, and the rest looked gloomy, their eyes filled with anger. A perfectly fine banquet turned out to be like this. What was even more infuriating was that before Sun Yunshi arrived, they had been beaten up by Chu Hen so badly that they could not get up. If this matter were spread out, it would be really embarrassing. Brother, you can't let him go, Sun Xinwen said hatefully. Whoosh, a cold light flashed in Sun Yunshi's eyes. His sword momentum rose, and his long sword blossomed with a splendid brilliance. Then, it pierced towards Chu Hen's right rib in an unexpected way. This sword was extremely fast. The swift and fierce sword light swept out like a flickering light and passing shadow. The surrounding crowd was secretly shocked and marveled at the strength of Sun Yunshi's swordsmanship. However, what was even more surprising was that Chu Hen tilted his feet and dodged the attack agilely, as if he knew his opponent was going to stab him. A surprised voice came from the crowd. Many people were astonished. Shen Yunxi was also slightly startled. He withdrew his sword, and then drew an arc of flowing light in the air, slashing horizontally at Chu Hen. Returning slash. But right at this moment, Chu Hen had similarly taken precautions beforehand. The Devil Slayer spear that flickered with violet light shot down like a violent dragon that had emerged from the sea, and it carried a ferocious might as it moved to intercept the attack. Bang! The peerlessly mighty tip of the spear directly shattered the flowing light sword, and then its attack didn't reduce in the slightest as it gave rise to an enormous pressure that assaulted Shen Yunxi. What an overbearing spear technique! Under the astonished gazes of the surrounding people, the Devil Slayer spear erupted with a furious aura. Countless spear images poured down like a storm, and it drew the airflow in all directions. Shen Yunxi's expression changed. With the fierceness of his swordsmanship, he was actually unable to keep up with Chu Hen's rhythm. This was simply too strange. It seemed as if every move he made would be seen through by his opponent. What exactly is going on? Without any extra time to think, the endless golden sword lights coiled around his sword like spirit snakes. Instantly, the powerful sword images emitted a terrifying cold light. Every inch of the sword was suffused with a crystalline sheen, and it was like divine iron that had been soaked in divine radiance. I don't believe that you have the ability to receive this sword strike of mine. Shen Yunxi roared as an astonishing aura erupted from his body, and the divine iron-like long sword thrust forward. In the next instant, the purple spear tip and the golden sword tip collided with each other, accompanied by a burst of sharp, whistling wind. Boom! The two extreme forces were like two meteors that had unexpectedly met, and the mountain-like shockwaves immediately began to ferociously fuse. The incomparably dazzling light pierced the eyes of the surrounding people. A heavy and violent explosion rang out between the two, and the gorgeous aftershocks wantonly swept out, causing the bricks on the ground to be lifted up and shattered. Then, a violent gale swept out in all directions. Along with the dispersing air, Chu Hen and Shen Yunxi were both pushed back. To the crowd's surprise, neither of them managed to gain the upper hand. This guy is actually able to fight evenly with Shen Yunxi? Don't worry, Shen Yunxi probably hasn't used his full strength. That's right. Didn't Long Qingyang also lose to Shen Yunxi in 3 moves today? Looking down at Chu Hen, who is not at all inferior to geniuses like Shen Yunxi, Yu Qinyu's hanging heart slightly calmed down a bit. Chu Hen's strength was much greater than he had imagined. He might really be able to defeat Shen Yunxi, and even if he couldn't, it shouldn't be a problem for him to stay alive. The cold wind rustled, and the cold air of the night grew increasingly cold. Chu Hen wielded the demon executioner spear, and a strange purple glow lingered around his body. If someone were to look closely, they would notice that his eyes were also suffused with a faint purple glow. His pupils seemed to have the ability to see through everything. Plum Blossom, Sword Shen Yunxi, is only SOSO. Chu Hen mocked. The aura that erupted from his body grew increasingly intense, and from a distance, it looked like a rising purple flame. Shen Yunxi's face darkened, and his face turned slightly ashen. Humph, it's a little too early for you to be happy. Buzz. Whoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Shen Yunxi's aura skyrocketed again. At the same time, a glittering and translucent rune that looked like blue glass quickly appeared in front of him. The crowd's eyes lit up at the sight of the rune. It's the water rune. Everyone had witnessed the power of the water rune today. Even Long Qingyang's all-out attack, which had been forged from the Bone Blaze spiritual fire, had barely broken through the water rune's defense. Whoosh! The next moment, Shen Yunxi was wrapped in a 5-meter-wide water ball. The blue water ball glowed with a soft, crystal-clear light and protected him from all directions. Most importantly, Shen Yunxi's movements inside wouldn't be affected at all. Humph, brat. Let's see what else you can do. After speaking, Shen Yunxi directly charged towards Chu Hen. The water ball that enveloped his body also formed a stable state with him. Given Chu Hen's strength, it would not be easy for him to break through the defense. The only way to get close to Shen Yunxi was for Chu Hen to enter the water ball as well. But if that happened, the situation would be even worse. The water rune's power would not affect Shen Yunxi, but would be extremely troublesome for Chu Hen. The current situation was equivalent to Shen Yunxi creating a water domain. Once Chu Hen stepped into this domain, the enemy would be strong while he was weak. It was extremely bad. Chu Hen, be careful. Yu Chenyu was alarmed as he looked at Chu Hen, who was standing motionless on the spot. His heart, which had just relaxed a little, began to worry again. Humph, is that kid scared out of his wits? Shang Zhe sneered coldly from nearby. Shen Xinwen and the others also had disdainful looks on their faces. She could already see Chu Hen's defeat in her mind. Buzz, buzz! A vast and mighty aura came attacking from the front. Looking at Shen Yunxi, who was wrapped in a water ball, Chu Hen's face could not help but have an extremely mocking cold smile. So what if you have a turtle shell? Just when the blue water ball was less than 2 meters away from Chu Hen, an extremely restless energy caused everyone's heart to tremble. A dazzling silver light flickered. Chu Hen condensed his left palm, and a silver rune immediately appeared in front of everyone. The rune emitted an extremely violent energy wave, and traces of electric light flowed around it. What's that? The lightning rune. Voices filled with shock came from the crowd. In the next instant, dozens of lightning beams immediately erupted from Chu Hen's body. The dazzling light pierced the eyes of countless people. The entire street was instantly illuminated as if it was daytime. Shen Yunxi, who was in the water ball, also had a drastic change of expression. However, before he could withdraw the water rune's energy, the dozens of lightning beams shot out like a group of lightning snakes and hit the water ball. Sizzle! The lightning beams were as thick as a bowl, and under Chu Hen's control, they interweaved into a 7 to 8 meters wide electric net. The raging power was terrifying. At this moment, Chu Hen was like a god of lightning, peerlessly domineering. Dense lightning covered the water ball, and in an instant, the blue water ball directly turned into a lightning ball. The terrifying lightning energy followed the water energy and hit Shen Yunxi's body. Ah! A pained and furious scream came from the water ball. Looking at Shen Yunxi, who was covered in lightning, everyone's expression changed drastically. They felt chills running down their spines. No one expected the situation to turn out like this. Originally, the water territory was Shen Yunxi's advantage, but when it came to Chu Hen, it forcefully became a disadvantage. The dense lightning beams interweaved together, causing the entire water ball to become dazzling and resplendent. But everyone knew that the area within the water ball was extremely dangerous. At this moment, Shen Yunxi was completely trapped within his water territory, and he couldn't even escape. Shen Xinwen, Shang Zhe, Lin Hai, and the other members of the continent's martial house had pale expressions, and they were extremely shocked in their hearts. Chapter 209. Chi-Chi. Furious and dense electric arcs covered Shen Yunxi's entire body, and the water ball around him directly turned into a dazzling electric ball. One was the water curse seal, and the other was the lightning curse seal. Chu Hen used the special property of water to melt electricity to make Shen Yunxi suffer a great loss. However, Chu Hen did not think that he could defeat Shen Yunxi in this way. While the audience was still in a state of shock, Chu Hen had already raised the cold spear in his hand. The piercingly cold spear aura penetrated the electric ball in front of him and directly stabbed towards Shen Yunxi. "Brother, be careful." Shen Xinwen hurriedly shouted. Shen Yunxi's eyes were cold. He clenched his teeth and quickly mobilized the true origin energy in his body. He held his sword with both hands and slashed toward Chu Hen. First element slash. Boom! A dazzling sword light flickered like the moon. It directly flew out from Shen Yunxi's sword and directly collided with Chu Hen's spear shadow. The moment the two forces collided, the water ball that enveloped Shen Yunxi also exploded from within. Endless electric arcs and thunder shadows bloomed like a firework shower. Streaks of silver electric arcs were like shooting stars wantonly splashing in the air. The air was filled with overlapping sounds of waves. The surrounding onlookers were all shaken by this enormous pressure and were forced to retreat repeatedly. Chi. The flickering electric arcs constantly wandered on Shun Yunxi's body. His eyes were red with anger, and his face was extremely gloomy. A huge sword aura swept out and completely suppressed the electric energy that entered his body. The surrounding audience was all shocked. Not only were they shocked by Shun Yunxi's powerful cultivation, but they were also shocked by Chu Hen's trump card. Under normal circumstances, Wu Xiao, who was at the 9th level of the element opening stage, would have died countless times if he encountered an expert at the 3rd level of the core transformation stage. However, Chu Hen was still able to cause Shun Yunxi to suffer losses time and time again. This scene truly caused countless people to be shocked. 2 elements slash. When the last electric arc was suppressed by Shun Yunxi, he struck out with his sword again. A powerful and terrifying sword light that was more than 10 meters long slashed diagonally. The sound of wind breaking was sharp and ear-piercing. The shadow of the sword was like a shuttle, and its momentum was like a flowing light that could catch up with the moon. Chu Hen's eyes narrowed. He raised his demon Punisher spear and drew a half circle in the air. Similarly, a peerless spear light swept out, and the 2 streaks of flowing light collided head-on, forming a cross. The scattered balls of light formed a violent impact between the 2. Dust flew everywhere, rocks flew everywhere, and rocks of all sizes flew up like a flock of moths. Shun Yunxi clenched his teeth and shouted again. Triple origin slash. 3 strikes in a row, sword after sword. The middle part of the attack was particularly tight. Shun Yunxi's counterattack came one after another, not giving Chu Hen any chance to find an opening. Facing this 3rd sword light that was far more powerful than the previous 2, Chu Hen's expression turned serious. The next moment, a surging aura rose from within Chu Hen's body, and a thick black shadow suddenly appeared in front of Chu Hen. The demon Punisher spear danced, and the black shadow immediately transformed into a solid spear light. The air was filled with rolling thunder, and the black spear light whistled through the air, meeting the opponent's 3rd sword light without showing any weakness. Boom! All sorts of scattered aftershocks flew everywhere, and the disorderly sword light and spear light blossomed into thousands of shining ripples. Sparks flew in all directions, and neither side gave way. The heavy explosion mixed with dust and smoke rushed towards the surrounding crowd of onlookers. Everyone raised their hands to cover their faces and quickly retreated. Phew! Looking at Chu Hen, who was still breathing and unharmed, everyone could not help but gasp. Everyone present could not help but gasp. Shun Yunxi had almost killed Long Qingyang with those 3 strikes earlier in the day. However, at this moment, all of them were easily dealt with by Chu Hen. Everyone's hearts were filled with confusion. Had Chu Hen really not stepped into the core transformation stage? Who the hell is this guy? A Lingxi martial house disciple frowned and said. Shun Xinwen, Shang Zhe, and the rest were shocked and confused. Chu Hen's strength was growing at a terrifying speed. Last time in St. Bell City, he could not even take 3 moves from Wei Qingfan and had to rely on a high-grade talisman to resolve the crisis. In terms of cultivation, Shun Yunxi was not any weaker than Wei Qingfan, or at least that was what the rumors said. In just a few months, the combat strength that Chu Hen had displayed was enough to put countless geniuses in the various martial houses to shame. Other than shock, Yu Qinyu was also pleasantly surprised. Her beautiful eyes rippled as they glowed with a bright light. The handsome young man, with the long spear in his hand, stood out from the rest of the crowd. The chilly night wind caused the sand to dance. You're much stronger than that useless Long Qingyang, Shun Yunxi said coldly as he gripped his sword. Useless? Chu Hen responded in a low voice. Don't forget that you entered the martial house a year earlier than Long Qingyang. Do you think you have a right to call Long Qingyang useless when it comes to talent? You, Shun Yunxi, in my eyes, you're the useless one. You wanted to kill Long Qingyang because you were afraid that Long Qingyang would one day surpass you. You wanted to strangle him in the cradle. Aren't you an incompetent piece of trash? His words were like thunder, each one of them piercing the heart. Shen Yunqi was furious. Shut up. I'm going to make you bleed today, you sharp-tongued piece of sh*t. Boom! In an instant, a powerful sword aura burst out of Shen Yunqi's body without any reservation. A gust of wind rose, and a powerful golden sword aura spun around Shen Yunqi's body like a whirlpool. A surging aura spread out like a torrent, and with Shen Yunqi at the center, numerous neat sword markings appeared on the ground beneath his feet. What terrifying sword aura! While the crowd was shocked, they could not help but worry about Chu Hen's fate. However, just at this moment, a piercingly cold might that shook the airflow in all directions suddenly rose from Chu Hen's body. Dense black light also lingered around Chu Hen's body and rotated, forming an extremely powerful energy vortex. The air within a 100-meter radius became exceptionally chaotic. The aura released by the two men was extremely violent and furious, sending chills down one's spine. Shing! The sword in Shen Yunqi's hand made a loud and clear sound, and a huge plum blossom quickly appeared in front of him. The beautiful plum blossom was flowing with a pure and holy golden light. An extremely sharp aura was constantly being released from its surface. Anyone could feel the dangerous aura coming from the plum blossom. You should be proud that you made me use this sword. Heavenly plum falling slash. Shen Yunqi shouted, and the golden plum blossom that was half the size of a human charged at Chu Hen with an intense destructive aura. The plum blossom's speed went from slow to fast, and its terrifying aura seemed to freeze the space. Boom! At the same time, the momentum of Chu Hen's sudden appearance also became furious and vast. Behind him, a blurry white figure that was over 20 meters tall appeared. The white figure's outline was similar to a human's, but it had a pair of bat wings on its back. Endless violent and murderous aura was emitted from the figure. The surrounding people's faces changed drastically, and their hearts were filled with shock. The feeling that the figure gave people was that of a demon. Buzz! Buzz! Along with the space faintly trembling, circles of white airwaves flowed and gathered in the demon's right hand, and instantly transformed into a huge spear that was nearly 30 meters long. The peerlessly domineering aura shook all directions. Every movement of the demon was as imposing as the moving of a mountain. In the next moment, Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and he raised the demon Punisher spear. The demon behind him directly attacked the golden plum blossom with a huge spear in its hand. Demon Punisher spear. Boom! In an instant, the extremely sharp golden plum blossom collided with a huge spear in the demon's hand. The two different terrifying shockwaves were like a tsunami, like a flood, and a bright brilliance shocked everyone. The dazzling brilliance that was like the sun whistled in all directions like a tide. Rumble. The heavy and violent sound was comparable to a thunderstorm, and the violent aftershock caused the bricks on the ground to shatter. Dust and sand were sent flying. Everyone present was pale with fright, and their minds were trembling. Yu Chenyu, Shen Xinwen, Shang Zhe, and the others who were on the balcony on the second floor of the restaurant were even more shocked. Was this power comparable to the battle of the Earthless Champion? Countless crisscross cracks extended from the feet of the two. Shen Yunqi's long hair danced in the wind, and his eyes were filled with ruthlessness. Chu Hen's clothes fluttered against the chaotic airflow, and his firm outline revealed a sense of ruthlessness. All of a sudden, there was a loud bang, and the golden plum blossom exploded from the middle, collapsing into countless golden light patterns. This is... Chu Hen has the upper hand. Just as everyone was stunned, Shen Yunqi's aura rose once again as he roared, "Brat, you won't be able to defeat me." As soon as he finished speaking, the golden light patterns that filled the sky instantly emitted a sharp aura. Countless golden light patterns turned into condensed sword shadows in an instant, and the densely packed sword shadows covered the sky and the earth. Like thousands of arrows, they pierced through the aftershock in the air and slashed straight at Chu Hen. The appearance of this scene immediately caused Yu Chenyu, who was on the balcony of the restaurant, to turn pale. Chu Hen. As for Shun Xinwen, Shang Zhe, and the others, they had already revealed complacent smiles. In the end, victory was still on Shun Yunxi's side. However, in the face of the sword shadows that covered the sky and the earth, Chu Hen did not show any fear. He smiled coldly and said, "I said not to be happy too early." Chapter 2:10. When faced with the countless solid sword images that possessed extremely penetrative force that were flying towards him, Chu Hen's face didn't reveal the slightest trace of panic. He put away the Devil Destroyer spear in his hand, and his hands condensed together. Along with an extremely violent fluctuation of energy, two different colored talisman markings suddenly appeared in his hands. What's that? Blazing talisman and frost talisman? How could this be possible? This fellow even executed the lightning talisman earlier. Is he trying to defy the heavens? Everyone present stared with their eyes wide open as they gazed at the two talisman markings that Chu Hen condensed, and their faces were filled with disbelief. Everyone who had been to St. Bell City was shocked speechless. At that time, even geniuses like Shun Yunxi, Wei Qingfan, and Bai Yue had only obtained one talisman marking each. However, Chu Hen had obtained 3 talisman markings by himself, and this was too surprising. However, everyone still didn't understand why Chu Hen had simultaneously released the energy of 2 types of talisman markings. Could it be that he didn't know that the energy released by talisman markings of different attributes would repel each other? Everyone present didn't have any extra time to ponder. At this critical moment, in the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint, an exquisite and nimble small-scale glyph suddenly appeared in front of Chu Hen's body. In an instant, Chu Hen didn't say a word and directly released 2 types of formidable energy. Boom! The blazing flame that soared into the sky and the ghastly ice profound energy were like 2 extremely furious torrents, and they gave rise to a terrifying and irresistible might as they whistled forward. Rumble! Heavy explosions sounded out in succession between the 2 of them. The red and white energies were like violent dragons that had emerged from the sea, and they swept through the numerous sword images that were flying towards Chun-Shi with their might. Oh my God, this fellow! Everyone present was shocked to the point their jaws almost dropped to the ground. A pillar of fire and a pillar of ice swept up a violent might that was a mixture of cold and heat as they assaulted Shun Yunxi, whose face was covered in shock. Boom! The astonishing power poured down, and the scorching and icy light crushed down on him. Under the extremely shocked gazes of the surrounding hundreds of people, 2 towering airwaves rose in front of Shun Yunxi. Bang! A loud bang sounded. His opponent seemed to have been hit by a torrent. His body trembled violently and flew out. A large mouthful of blood gushed out from his mouth. Brother! Senior brother Yunxi, Spirit Rhino Martial House's Shun Xinwen, Shang Zhe, and the others all turned pale with fright. At the same time that Shun Yunxi was sent flying, the raging shock wave continued to sweep downwards, and a thick layer of countless stone bricks on the ground was shaved off. As if it had been hit by a strong current, a ravine that was 7 to 8 meters wide and dozens of meters long suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Even many of the onlookers behind Shun Yunxi were knocked to the ground by the powerful shockwave. Bang! Shun Yunxi fell heavily on the ground and was dragged on the ground for more than 10 meters before he was able to stop. His body continuously emitted a cold air, and many parts of his clothes were burnt. His hair was gray, and his face was black, and he was in an extremely sorry state. He did not have the slightest bit of his previous elegant demeanor. Fresh blood continuously flowed from his mouth, and his aura was extremely weak. It was difficult for him to get up again. Hiss! The appearance of this scene caused everyone present to involuntarily suck in a breath of cold air. The entire street fell into a deathly silence. Shun Yunxi had been defeated. He had been defeated by Chu Hen, who was only at the 9th level of the element opening stage. This was simply something that no one could have imagined, even in their dreams. Not long ago, Everyone was still discussing how unsightly Chu Hen would be defeated by Shan Yunxi in the first match the next day. But the scene in front of them was truly a slap to the faces of countless people. Tuh. The steady footsteps caused everyone's hearts to tremble. They saw Chu Hen's expression was indifferent as he walked step by step toward Shan Yunxi. The invisible pressure caused everyone's heartstrings to tighten involuntarily. He, Plum Blossom, Sword Shan Yunxi, is only SOSO. Chu Hen did not conceal the mockery and disdain in his tone. Shan Yunxi's sorry state was filled with panic as he struggled on the ground and continuously retreated. So you're afraid now? Chu Hen's eyes were filled with disdain as he smiled indifferently. When it comes to courage, you're not even a tenth of Long Qingyang's. Chu Hen, stop. At this moment, the people from the consonant's martial house hurriedly rushed out of the restaurant. Shan Xinwen hurriedly stood in front of Shan Yunxi. Don't kill him. Don't kill him. Shan Xinwen looked extremely helpless at this moment, her face streaked with tears. As far as she could remember, Shan Yunxi had never been in such a sorry state, nor had he suffered such a setback. Xinwen, get out of the way. Even if I die, I don't need your protection, Shan Yunxi said in a low voice. Haha, you still have a bit of ambition. The corner of Chu Hen's mouth raised into a ridiculing arc. Following that, his gaze turned cold, and he swept his gaze towards the few people from the Lingxi martial house who were yes-men and did not dare to speak. The moment they met Chu Hen's gaze, they all shrank back in fright, especially Shang Zhe. He could clearly feel that the coldness in the other party's eyes was directed at him. Without another word, Shang Zhe hurriedly handed over a heavy halberd covered in green scales. Qing, I'll return the green scales heavy halberd to you. Chu Hen's handsome eyebrows raised slightly and said with a smile full of interest, It seems that when you obtained this heavy halberd today, weren't you rather proud? Now you're pretending to be a grandson? Shang Zhe's face flushed red from being ridiculed. Do you really want to find a hole to hide in? Chu Hen casually received the green scales heavy halberd, and his indifferent gaze returned to Shan Yunxi. The surrounding crowd's hearts were in their throats. Was the other party really going to kill him? At this moment, Yu Qinyu suddenly walked to Chu Hen's side. Casually pulling his arm, she said, All right, seeing your brother Qin Yang's anger has been vented. It's time for you to cool down. Let's go. This scene caused the surrounding crowd to be surprised once again. Since when did Yu Qinyu and Chu Hen become so close? Yu Qinyu did not want Chu Hen to stir up trouble. If it was in the Earth ranking tournament, no one would say anything if Chu Hen killed Shan Yunxi, but it was different outside. Once Shan Yunxi died, the consonant's martial house would definitely pursue Chu Hen's responsibility. At that time, it would only cause trouble. Feeling the gentleness in Yu Qinyu's tone, Chu Hen's expression gradually calmed down. The coldness emitted from his body also retracted. What should we do tomorrow? You know, I don't want to see you in the competition area. Chu Hen looked at Shan Yunxi and coldly said. Then, he left with Yu Qinyu. The surrounding crowd quickly opened a path. Everyone's gaze towards Chu Hen underwent a great change. Looking at the backs of the two, Shan Yunxi's lips faintly moved twice. In the end, he did not say anything. His hands clenched in a fist, his knuckles cracking. All the consonant's martial house students stood to the side in silence. At this moment, Shan Xinwen's heart was particularly complex. Her omnipotent elder brother image had been severely destroyed. She could not help but feel some regret. Regret that she had provoked Chu Hen again and again. But then again, who would have thought that the youth who had been continuously rejected by all the higher academies in the capital would actually grow to such a degree in less than a year? For the countless people in the capital, tonight would be another sleepless night. The bustling streets were brightly lit with people coming and going, looking resplendent and prosperous. You still don't want to let go? Chu Hen said to Yu Qinyu, who was beside him. Yu Qinyu's face blushed red. She pulled back her arm that was holding onto his arm. I forgot. Chu Hen let out a deep breath. We've arrived at Tensei Prefecture. I'll go back first. We've arrived? So fast. Yu Qinyu's beautiful eyes looked all around. Only then did she discover that around 100 meters in front of her was the entrance to Tensei Prefecture. Seeing the other's silly appearance, Chu-Hen couldn't help but find it a bit funny. What had you been thinking about on the way here? Nothing? Yu Qinyu's eyebrows arched. Her intelligent eyes turned, avoiding Chu-Hen's gaze. You still have a match tomorrow. Go back early and rest. Oh, I forgot. You don't have a match tomorrow. You've already won. I really can't stand you. Go back. You're not going to see me off? Yu Qinyu suddenly said. See you off? This time, it was Chu-Hen's turn to be startled. He received Yu Qinyu's slightly expectant gaze. He hesitated for a moment and shook his head. Next time, I'm a bit tired. Oh. Yu Qinyu nodded slightly in disappointment. Then goodbye. After watching Yu Qinyu leave, Chu-Hen's body suddenly trembled. His face turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of dark, red, extravasated blood. It's still a bit of a stretch to fight someone 3 levels higher than me, Chu-Hen muttered to himself softly. His opponent was Shun Yunxi, one of the favorites to win the championship. It was impossible for Chu-Hen to say that he was not injured at all. If he did not rely on the power of the chaotic body and the sacred demonic pupil body, it was almost impossible for him to defeat Shin Yunxi. After all, the gap between the elemental opening realm and the core transformation realm was still fundamentally different. Phew! After spitting out a mouthful of extravasated blood, Chu-Hen's internal breath became slightly smoother. However, all the major meridians in his body were swollen and painful, and his limbs felt rather weak. This was also the main reason why he refused to send Yu Qinyu back. There are still a few rounds of the Earthless tournament. I need to heal my injuries as soon as possible. Immediately, Chu-Hen walked towards the gate of Tensei Prefecture. However, as soon as Chu-Hen entered the gate of the academy, he met someone. Chapter 211. At night, Chu-Hen returned to Tensei Prefecture. However, as soon as he entered the gate of the academy, he saw a person standing in the hazy night. Tutor. Chu-Hen raised his eyebrows, and a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. The person in front of him was Shilon. She was tall and slender, and her long purple hair matched with her beautiful face. She was like an elf in the night, beautiful and moving. Tutor, are you going out? Chu-Hen asked casually. Shilon shook her head slightly and replied faintly. How is your brother? He's out of danger. Thank you for your concern, Tutor. You're injured? Shilon frowned slightly. Huh? Chu-Hen smiled awkwardly. It's nothing serious. It's just a small injury. If there's nothing else, I'll go back first. Chu-Hen faintly felt that his chi and blood were starting to become blocked again. If he didn't go back to regulate his breathing, the consequences would be more serious. Shilon nodded. Go. Okay. Immediately, Chu-Hen took his leave, turned around, and disappeared into the night. Shilon gazed in the direction that the other party had left in, and a faint ripple appeared in her eyes. She sighed softly and shook her head helplessly. A moment later, Chu-Hen returned to his residence. Chu-Hei, you're back? Lei Jun, who heard movement outside the door, hurriedly came out of the room. Where's Mu Feng? He's not back yet? Chu-Hen asked casually. This, Lei Jun answered with a strange expression. He sneaked back in the afternoon, and then went out again when he saw the messy courtyard. Huh? Only then did Chu-Hen remember that he had almost destroyed the entire courtyard yesterday because he was cultivating the runes. However, to Chu-Hen's surprise, the courtyard had been simply renovated and tidied up. The scattered bricks and tiles were all cleaned up. At the same time, Chu-Hen also noticed that Lei Jun was sweating profusely, as if he had just finished his work. I'm really sorry to have caused you trouble again, Chu-Hen said apologetically. I'm fine. Lei Jun laughed heartily, revealing his clean teeth. This is nothing. When I was in St. Bell City, I could build a house in a day or two. It's just a renovation. It's a piece of cake for me. Chu-Hen smiled. If he wanted to cultivate in the future, it would be better to go to the secret cultivation room. If he kept doing this, it would be very annoying. He could even imagine the angry look on Mu Feng's face when he came back in the afternoon. After chatting with Lei Jun for a while, Chu-Hen returned to his room. Then he sat cross-legged on the bed and circulated the true yuan in his body to recuperate. Today's battle proved that Chu Hen's previous idea was very feasible. When the power of two kinds of runes were used together, it would have a very strong lethality. What outsiders didn't know was that in addition to the raging fire, frost, and thunder runes, Chu Hen also had the gale, water, and spirit gathering runes. In addition to the spirit gathering runes, the other 5 runes could be used together. But no matter what, the power of the runes did not originate from his own origin power. In terms of the strength of control, Chu Hen still needed to put in a lot of effort. Although he defeated Shen Yunshi today, Chu Hen couldn't be considered to have escaped unscathed. On a certain level, there was actually a little bit of luck involved. If Shen Yunshi was replaced by Wei Qingfan, it was hard to say whether he could defeat the opponent. Although the outside world said that the strength of these two people was relatively close, in Chu Hen's opinion, Wei Qingfan's cultivation was probably a level higher. Time ticked by quietly. In the room, Chu Hen's whole body was lingering in a soft golden light. Compared to before, Chu Hen's aura was obviously much more stable and calm, and his complexion had also recovered a little bit of color. At this moment, the true Yuan in Chu Hen's body suddenly became restless, and his consciousness dived into the Dantian Sea of Qi. In the Sea of Qi, a true Yuan cyclone was spinning rapidly like a golden whirlpool, and a steady stream of true Yuan was like a surging tide, flowing towards the major meridians in his body. Suddenly, the range of the true Yuan cyclone became bigger and bigger, and the surging true Yuan constantly set off huge waves in the Sea of Qi. Every inch of Chu Hen's skin and flesh was surging with a restless power. Then, the true essence cyclone began to move faster and faster, and the mighty true essence began to rapidly gather towards the cyclone. The restless energy fluctuations were like the magma brewing inside a volcano, abnormally fierce. This is a sign of core formation. Chu Hen was overjoyed. He was very clear that when the true Yuan condensed to a certain degree, the true Yuan cyclone would start to condense into a core. Once the core formation was formed, one would break through the elemental opening stage and step into the core transformation stage. Once one entered the core transformation stage, the strength of the true Yuan would have a qualitative leap. Moreover, one would not need to rely on martial arts to achieve the effect of releasing true Yuan and injuring people through the air. Chu Hen did not expect that he would seize the opportunity to break through at this time. He immediately steadied his mind and continuously controlled the true Yuan in his body to gather in the Dantian Sea of Qi. The true Yuan cyclone rotated extremely quickly, and it rapidly shrank, compressing and condensing towards the center. However, things did not go as smoothly as Chu Hen had imagined. When the true Yuan cyclone shrank to the size of fist, the violent power caused Chu Hen to lose control for a moment. Along with the chaotic aura, a circle of scattered true Yuan was released from within Chu Hen's body. Phew! Chu Hen opened his eyes and panted heavily. His forehead was covered with sweat, and even his back was a little cold. I failed. Chu Hen shook his head helplessly. Under normal circumstances, a lot of preparation work was needed to break through the bottleneck of true Yuan core formation. The supply of spiritual energy was indispensable, and in some situations, the assistance of medicinal pills might also be needed. Chu Hen did not lack high-grade primordial crystal stones, and he also had a Yuan burst pill. With these two auxiliary conditions, he could try to break through again. Just when Chu Hen had this thought, he was speechless to find that the sky outside was already bright. It's bright? Chu Hen was startled. He had closed his eyes for an entire night. Bright light shone through the window, signaling the beginning of a new day. Chu Hen got off the bed and moved his stiff limbs. After a whole night of rest, his injuries were mostly healed. Although his internal organs still had some dull pain, it was basically not a hindrance. Today was the day of the Earth Rankings Top 16. If Shen Yunshi did not participate in the competition, then Chu Hen would win without a fight and would advance to the next round. In that case, there was no need for him to go to the competition area. Forget it. Let's go to the competition area first. I'll come back later. Since he had grasped the opportunity to break through to the core transformation stage, Chu Hen's mind was filled with this matter. However, he couldn't be sure if Shun Yunshi would really give up on the round of 16, so it was better to confirm it first. Morning. In the eastern district of the imperial capital, the competition area for the Earth Rankings Martial Competition. Boom. Everyone, welcome to the competition area for the Earth Rankings Top 16. I, Lu Tong, am honored to be the host and judge again. Following Lu Tong's loud and clear voice, the entire competition area was filled with a joyous atmosphere. Just like the day before, all 31 Martial House's deans were present, and each school's team was assigned their own seats. Only the deans of the Imperial Martial Academy, Imperial Wind Academy, Spirit Rhino Academy, Bright Moon Academy, and Giant Elephant Academy were seated in their respective seats. Compared to the day before, the atmosphere today was even more lively. Wei Qingfan, Yao Zhan, Luo Mengshang, Long Xuanchuang, Xiao Yin, Bai Yuyue, and the rest. Many geniuses were shining brightly like stars in the sky. Today, Big Brother Chu Hen will be fighting first. On the Tifeng province's side, Yi Yao clenched her fists. Her pretty face was filled with anticipation and excitement. Although Chu Hen's opponent was exceptionally strong, Yi Yao was still confident in him. Sitting next to her was Yi Yu. The latter's eyes were filled with an indescribable complexity. Yesterday, she was humiliated by Chu Hen in front of everyone, causing her to be in a bad mood. When Wei Qingfan spoke to her, Yu only gave a simple reply. Wei Qingfan's cold gaze was fixed on Chu Hen in the Tensei Prefecture's area. His face was full of mockery. You're unlucky to have encountered Shen Yunqi. On the Bright Moon Academy's side, Long Xuanchuang frowned, looking worried. What happened next? She felt a headache coming on. Everyone, Lu Tong raised his arms and waved them off. He announced in a loud and excited voice, I believe everyone here can't wait for today's competition. Then, I won't say anything. Let's welcome the first group of contestants. Heavenly Star, Chu Hen against Lingxi, Shun Yunqi. Boom! The monstrous tide ignited the atmosphere of the audience, and all kinds of jubilant voices rose and fell. Shen Yunqi will win. Shen Yunqi, champion. Shen Yunqi, do your best. Among the soaring cheers, almost all of them supported Shen Yunqi. Even the many students and mentors of the Heavenly Star Martial House had a worried look on their faces. Shortly after, under the different gazes of everyone present, Chu Hen was neither servile nor overbearing. With a calm expression, he walked onto the stage from the audience's seating area. Go down. It's impossible for you to win against senior brother Shen Yunqi. Don't waste time. They're not on the same level. Many of Shen Yunqi's supporters booed Chu Hen. However, what was puzzling was that Shen Yunqi did not appear on the Lingxi Martial House's side. Not only that, but all the mentors and students of the Lingxi Martial House seemed to be silent and gloomy. What was going on? Chapter 2:12. What's going on? Where's senior brother Shen Yunqi? Looking at Chu Hen, who had ascended the dueling ring, and not seeing Shen Yunqi appear for a long time, the atmosphere of the entire place could not help but become chaotic. Wei Qingfan, Yao Zhan, Long Xuanchuang, Luo Mengshang, Bai Yuyue, Xiao Yin, and the other geniuses all revealed looks of confusion. Everyone's gazes swept towards the seating area of the Consonance Martial House. They saw that the mentors and students of the Consonance Martial House were all silent with gloomy faces. They swept through the entire audience, but did not see Shen Yunqi's figure. Shen Yunqi? He was beaten like a dog by Chu Hen last night. At this moment, a soft voice suddenly sounded from one of the audience seats. The other party had only said this casually and did not intend to make a ruckus. But this voice just happened to reach the moment when the entire audience was in a state of confusion and silence. However, the effect caused by this soft voice was like a bolt from the blue, instantly exploding in the hearts of everyone present. Countless people's brains were shaken to the point of buzzing. After a short silence, many of Shen Yunqi's supporters directly hurled a torrent of abuse at that person. What are you saying? Don't speak nonsense here. F asterisk CK off. Senior brother Shen Yunxi will lose to him? If you speak nonsense again, believe it or not, I won't be polite to you. However, that brother most likely also had a fiery temper. After being suddenly scolded, he immediately jumped 3 feet high and angrily retorted, F asterisk CK. Can I speak the truth? If not, then ask the people around me. Last night, we all saw with our own eyes that Shen Yunxi was completely crushed by Chu Hen. That's right, we all saw it. Chu Hen, we support you. In an instant, many people from last night stood up in response. And then, a middle-aged man from the consonant's martial house stood up and said in a low voice, Everyone, I am Shen Yunxi's direct mentor, Deng Chao. I will represent Shen Yunxi to forfeit. What? Forfeit? Boom. In the next second, the entire competition area became a pot of porridge. The uncontrolled scene was like an erupting volcano. Instantly, the atmosphere of the audience erupted into a frenzy. Everyone who didn't know what happened last night was extremely shocked. That sentence once again floated up in everyone's mind. And Shen Yunxi. Last night, they were beaten like dogs by Chu Hen. Shocking. Absolute shock. On the Bright Moon Academy's side, Long Xuan frowned, her beautiful eyes filled with disbelief. Wei Qingfan, Yao Zhan, Luo Mengshang, Xiao Yin, Bai Yuyue, and the other geniuses were also shocked. On the spectator's stand in the north, the host judge, Lu Tong, was stunned. Even the 5 deans had surprised looks on their faces. What had happened last night? Looking at the handsome youth on the arena, his expression was indifferent. His eyes were like an ancient well, and the corners of his mouth curled up into an arc that carried a hint of mockery. While they were shocked, many of Shen Yunxi's supporters raised questions. How could he possibly defeat senior brother Yunxi? He must have used a high-level talisman. That's right. Using high-level talismans is against the rules of the competition. I strongly request that Shen Yunxi disqualify Chu Hen. The winner is Shen Yunxi. All sorts of condemnation arose in the audience, but very quickly, witnesses from last night stood up to speak for Chu Hen. Can you guys stop talking nonsense? Last night, Chu Hen didn't use any high-level talismans at all. Damn it, I can't stand it anymore. If you don't believe me, you can ask Miss Yu Qinyu. She was also there. That's right, Miss Yu Qinyu has the integrity to guarantee that she won't lie to you. As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes turned to Yu Qinyu in the giant elephant martial house's spectator stand. Miss Qinyu, can you say a few words? That. Yu Qinyu smiled helplessly. Then, she stood up and looked at Chu Hen with a gentle gaze. Then, she said to Lu Tong and the deans of the 5 academies in the northern spectator stand, I can prove that Chu Hen didn't use any talismans or similar items in his battle with Shen Yunxi last night. Her gentle and melodious voice directly crushed and suppressed all the doubtful voices. At this moment, no one in the audience had any doubts. No one would doubt the credibility of Yu Qinyu's words. There was no other reason than that she was the beloved daughter of the great general of the West Sea of the Sacred Star Dynasty. All sorts of chaotic noises rose and fell. However, those who had been the most ferocious just now all shut their mouths. Not to mention that Chu Hen didn't use any high-level talismans. Even if he did, it was only outside the competition area yesterday and wasn't restricted by the rules of the Earthless tournament. However, the reality of the situation once again shocked the audience. What followed was the jubilant cheers from the people of the Tensei Prefecture. The thunderous applause swept across the entire arena. Even Song, Chenglai, Shadowless, and the other core teachers were especially excited and surprised at this moment. Ha ha ha! Chu Hen, good job. Congratulations to senior brother Chu Hen for making it to the top 8. Chu Hen, you're awesome. Li Hui, Zhou Lu, He Qing'an, Lu Yu, and the others all stood up and cheered. Principal Jiang, the head of the Heavenly Star Academy, nodded in approval. This academy hadn't had a student make it to the top 8 of the all-school tournament for 4 to 5 years. Thinking of this, Principal Jiang couldn't help but look at the 2 geniuses, Xiao Yin and Bai Yuyue. On his slightly wrinkled face, there was a hint of anticipation. Wow, Big Brother Chu Hen is awesome. On the side of the Tifeng province, Yi Yao clapped her hands happily. Beside her, Yi Yu had an indescribably complicated expression on her face. This outcome was really beyond her expectations. Wei Qingfan's eyes were extremely gloomy, and there was a surge of coldness between his brows. He thought to himself, since that useless Shen Yunxi can't deal with you, then I'll do it myself. I hope you won't disappoint me. After some chaos, Lu Tong began to control the situation. Ahem, since contestant Shen Yunxi has forfeited, today's first battle will be won by contestant Chu Hen from the Heavenly Star Academy. Congratulations to Chu Hen for making it to the top 8 of the Earth leaderboard. Wow. The cheers were endless, and the applause was thunderous. At this moment, Long Xuan could finally put down the huge stone in her heart. At the same time, she was gradually unable to see through this brother of hers who wasn't related by blood. In the past, there was almost nothing she didn't know about him, but now she felt that Chu Hen was full of secrets that no one knew about. However, Long Xuan didn't feel too pressured. She could clearly feel the deep affection Chu Hen had for her and Long Qingyang. He's already in the top 8. If we meet later on, it'll be the quarterfinals. Wouldn't it be a little embarrassing to ask him to give me the victory? On the side of the Imperial Martial Academy, Luo Mengshang held her cheek with her hand, and her beautiful eyes wandered as she muttered to herself. Previously, she had made a promise with Chu Hen that if the two of them were to meet in the top 32, Chu Hen would agree to give her the victory. Although some of it was a joke, some of it was also serious. After all, with one less battle, he would have an advantage over the other contestants in terms of stamina. This would also increase his chances of winning the championship. Big sister instructor Hong Lian, can I not fight for the championship? Luo Mengshang asked Hong Lian. Why? It's so boring. Hong Lian was a little surprised by Luo Mengshang's answer. Could boredom be a reason? In fact, Luo Mengshang didn't want to fight for the championship. This was just a task that Hong Lian had given her. However, seeing that Luo Mengshang wasn't interested, Hong Lian could only reply, up to you. Anyway, the Earthless tournament isn't much of a challenge for you. Amidst the noise of the crowd, Chu Hen left the arena. However, he didn't return to the spectator seats in Tensei Prefecture. Previously, he had informed instructor Shilan and the others that he would return after his first round of competition. Chu Hen minded his own business and walked out from the exit of the competition area. The noise of the crowd was gradually left behind. The top 16 will continue. Let's invite the 2 contestants from the second round onto the stage. After leaving the arena, Chu Hen felt an indescribable sense of relief. He immediately headed in the direction of Tensei Prefecture. The venue of the competition was in the East District, while Tensei Prefecture was in the South District. Although they were 2 different urban areas, they were 2 adjacent areas. The distance between the 2 was only 2 streets. After a while, Chu Hen returned to the academy and went straight to his residence. Since he had seized the opportunity of the energy-gathering elixir last night, today's matter had occupied Chu Hen's mind. Although time was tight, if he had good control of his true inner force, it was still possible to complete the breakthrough before tomorrow's competition. Of course, this was Chu Hen's own perception and thoughts. After that, Chu Hen didn't say a word and calmed the restlessness in his heart. Then he withdrew 2 high-grade origin crystals and released the spirit convergence runes before he started to enter a state of cultivation. Buzz buzz! A steady stream of golden spiritual power was released from the primordial crystals like a spring, and it quickly gathered in the spirit gathering seal, and then poured into the 8 extraordinary meridians in Chu Hen's body. At the same time, the meager heaven and earth spiritual power in the room was also like a stream flowing into a river, merging into Chu Hen's body at a speed several times faster than usual. Soon, Chu Hen entered the state of cultivation. The true inner force all over his body became extraordinarily active, as if every inch of flesh and skin was filled with amazing power. Then, Chu Hen's consciousness dived into the Dantian sea of energy. The surging true inner force filled the entire sea of energy, and in the central area of the sea of energy, a group of true inner force swirled rapidly, constantly releasing powerful energy. Chapter 213. The top 16 of the Earth List tournament was in full swing. The whole city was looking forward to it, but Chu Hen returned to Tensei Prefecture early. In the room, Chu Hen sat on the bed, and the spirit-gathering seal floating in front of him constantly gathered the thin spiritual power of heaven and earth and the energy in the high-grade primordial crystal stones at a speed several times faster than usual, and integrated into Chu Hen's body. Circles of golden light like water ripples hovered around Chu Hen's body, and an obscure and restless aura was transmitted from his body. Hum! In the air, there was a sudden trembling sound of a wave of air. Then, the energy inside Chu Hen's body instantly became unbearably chaotic. Together with a circle of scattered light, Chu Hen's body trembled violently, and with a muffled bang, the spirit-gathering seal floating in front of him suddenly burst into a mass of airwaves. Failed again. Chu Hen opened his eyes, and there was a hint of disappointment in his pupils. Just like the first time, every time the true essence cyclone was compressed to a certain extent, the subsequent power would not be able to keep up. It seems that I can only use the Yuan burst pill, Chu Hen murmured in a low voice. He immediately moved his palm, and a dark red pill appeared between his fingers. However, just as Chu Hen was thinking about whether to take the Yuan burst pill, a soft voice suddenly came from the door. The absorption of the Yuan burst pill is too slow. If you take it now, I'm afraid you won't be able to make it in time for tomorrow's ranking competition. Chu Hen was shocked, and he quickly looked up. He saw that the door of his room was open, and a beautiful woman with long purple hair was leaning against the door frame, looking at him quietly with her gentle and moving eyes. Mentor? Chu Hen blurted out. The person who came was Shilon. The warm sunlight sprinkled on her snow-white skin with a hint of redness, and her beautiful temperament was refined. Professor, why are you back as well? Chu Hen got up and walked up to him. Shilan's beautiful eyes looked up and her red lips parted. Come with me. Chu Hen wanted to ask again, but the other party had already turned around and left. After a moment of hesitation, Chu Hen decided to follow behind him. After a while, the two of them arrived at the maple forest one after another. Although it was already late autumn, the maple forest was still as red as a sea of fire. Usually, there would be many students cultivating in the wooden stake array, but because of the All-Academy Martial competition, this place was especially quiet. Chu Hen had been following behind Shilon. Her exquisite and almost perfect figure made Chu Hen unable to take his eyes off her. Such a woman was worthy of being the most beautiful teacher in the Imperial City. At this moment, Shilon suddenly turned around. Her gaze caught Chu Hen off guard. We're here. Chu Hen coughed lightly to ease the slight embarrassment in his heart. He then said, Professor, why did you bring me here? I just said that the absorption of the burst Yuan pill is slower. If you take it now, you won't be able to break through to the core transformation stage before tomorrow. I'm also thinking about this. Chu Hen touched his nose and said. However, after the battle with Shun Yunqi last night, Chu Hen had some ideas. If he were to encounter Wei Qingfan with his cultivation at the peak of the 9th level of the element opening realm, his chances of winning would be very slim. He could lose to anyone, but he definitely could not lose to Wei Qingfan. I can help you. A gentle voice came out of Shilan's mouth. Chu Hen was startled and looked at her in surprise. Shilan tilted her body slightly and looked at the empty space behind her. She then said, in the southwest area of the 100 Kingdom state, there is a secret technique. This secret technique is called the Celestial Revolving Sacred Heart Technique. Celestial Revolving Sacred Heart Technique? Chu Hen murmured. This technique is a secret technique that creates opportunities for others. It includes extracting the heaven and earth spiritual energy from the caster's body and storing it in his own body. He then uses his own primordial chi to continuously refine the purest part of the spiritual energy. After years of accumulation, the pure energy will become enormous and can directly fuse into the body of the person who is under the spell. Shilon slightly paused and then continued, Because the energy that is refined is very gentle. It is not as violent as the energy from elixirs or crystals. It can be quickly absorbed by the human body and has an advantage in terms of time. Most importantly, the celestial revolving sacred heart technique does not have any side effects. No matter how fast one's cultivation level increases, there will not be any problems with an unstable foundation or true origin energy. After listening to Shi Lan's explanation, Chu Hen was amazed. There is actually such a secret technique in this world. The world is so big that it is not something you can imagine. There are more than 10 million great Daos in the world. In the future, you will know that the Sacred Star Empire is just a speck of dust in a vast sea of smoke. After listening to this, Chu Hen was even more amazed. At the same time, he felt that Shi Lan was not an ordinary person. Or rather, she was not born in the Sacred Star Empire. Combined with Chu Hen's understanding of Shi Lan, she most likely came to this new environment to forget the pain in her heart because of the unexpected death of her younger brother. The celestial revolving sacred heart technique has great power. If you reach the highest level, you can even resurrect the dead. At this point, Shi Lan's expression turned gloomy. Her beautiful eyes were filled with sadness as she murmured softly, "Unfortunately, I was far from that level at that time. Shichen's soul has already returned to the netherworld and turned into bones." Her murmur was like a mosquito's buzz, and it tugged at Chu Hen's heartstrings. Although this beautiful woman in front of him was his teacher, her heart was so soft that it made his heart ache. At this point, Chu Hen understood that Shi Lan planned to use the celestial revolving sacred heart technique to help him break through to the core transformation stage in the shortest time possible. "Teacher, if you use the celestial revolving sacred heart technique, will it harm you?" Chu Hen did not believe that such a selfless secret technique would not harm the user. Shi Lan's eyes trembled slightly, and a ripple appeared in the depths of her heart. "A little, but it won't affect me too much. What harm will it cause?" Chu Hen asked. "I'll only be weakened for a short period of time. You can rest assured that I know what I'm doing. But you don't have much time left unless you want to lose to Wei Qingfan in the competition. I made a promise to Principal Jiang that you would definitely be able to enter the top 3 of the Earth rankings. Don't embarrass me." "Teacher, you?" Chu Hen couldn't help but find it funny. She was one of the top 3 on the Earth ranking, and she actually dared to say such a thing. However, when he thought about it again, with Shi Lan's personality, she most likely wouldn't make such a promise. She was just trying to reassure Chu Hen. However, since Shi Lan had already said so much, Chu Hen could not help but laugh. In the end, Chu Hen did not refuse. "Thank you in advance, teacher." Shi Lan smiled faintly, and a faint ripple appeared in her beautiful eyes. Then, she turned around and formed a few complicated seals with her slender and fair fingers. Strands of silver light lingered on her fingertips. Soon after, under Chu Hen's astonished gaze, the silver light transformed into hundreds of specks of light. Shi Lan gently raised her wrist, and with a flick of her finger, the hundreds of specks of light instantly dispersed before falling onto the empty space in front of her. Buzz, buzz, a powerful energy wave was released. At the same time, the hundreds of light spots on the ground emitted a bright light, and at the same time, they connected with each other and formed a dazzling array in the blink of an eye. The dead branches and leaves on the ground were all sent flying. Silver light patterns interweaved and emitted a shocking aura. "Teacher, are you also a pattern caster?" Chu Hen asked in surprise. "No," Shi Lan replied gently. "Then how can you set up a talisman array?" "This is not a talisman array. It's just an ordinary hidden spirit array." Shi Lan turned to look at Chu Hen and continued to explain, "There are many types of arrays, and not only pattern casters can set up arrays. True inner force can also activate the operation of the array. But in comparison, pattern casters can control the array perfectly and exert the power of the array to the fullest." "Is it because of the runes?" Chu Hen asked. "That's right." Shi Lan nodded in affirmation. "Pattern casters use runes to arrange arrays, but I only used pure true inner force just now. Runes can only be condensed with Reiki energy, so the difference between the two is quite big. Chu Hen listened attentively. He did not expect his teacher to know so much. She was only a few years older than him, which made Chu Hen feel that Shi Lan's identity was extraordinary. "All right, let's enter the array," Shi Lan said, and took the lead to walk into the hidden spirit array. Buzz, the moment she entered the array, a layer of illusory ripples faintly appeared in the air. Chu Hen followed closely, accompanied by the ripples. As soon as he entered the array, Chu Hen felt that it was exceptionally quiet, and the environment outside the array was completely isolated, so he could not see through it at all. This hidden spirit array can not only prevent the leakage of spiritual energy, but it will also seal your six senses. During this period, you can avoid being disturbed by the outside world. Shi Lan explained softly. Chu Hen nodded and smiled. Teacher is really thoughtful. Get ready, Shi Lan said as she sat on the ground. Chu Hen also sat upright, and the two of them sat opposite each other, about half a meter apart. Facing such a beautiful and exquisite face, Chu Hen was more or less a little uncomfortable. Focus, Shi Lan said lightly. Then she put her hands together, and her 10 fingers once again evolved into different hand gestures. Chapter 214. The Celestial Revolving Saint Heart Technique was a secret technique that allowed the caster to gather and condense energy for others to absorb. This was somewhat similar to sacrificing oneself to make a wedding dress for others. Chu Hen did not know why Teacher Shi Lan was so good to him, but Chu Hen seemed to be unable to find a reason to reject her kindness. In the spirit concealing array, Chu Hen and Shi Lan sat facing each other, separated by only half a meter. Chu Hen could even smell the faint, elegant fragrance on each other's body. But very quickly, that wisp of arousing fragrance disappeared. Not only his sense of smell, but even his hearing and touch were all rendered useless. Just now, Shi Lan had already said that in order to avoid being disturbed by the outside world, the spirit concealing array had sealed off several of Chu Hen's external sensory abilities. The only thing that could still be used was his consciousness, which had become even more acute. Buzz! After an unknown period of time, Chu Hen felt that he had entered a very strange state. A strange scene appeared in his mind. Although he did not open his eyes, he could clearly sense every movement of Shi Lan in front of him. Shi Lan's hands constantly formed different kinds of seals, and a powerful aura was released from her body. Suddenly, a golden dot of light floated up from Shi Lan's body. The soft dot of light was like a fluorescent light, and it slowly floated toward Chu Hen. The dot of light floated in front of Chu Hen, and then drilled into the space between his eyebrows. In the next moment, Chu Hen felt a strand of pure energy fusing into his body. That strand of energy directly flowed through his meridians and reached his Dantian Qi Si. In an instant, it fused together with his true Yuan Qi whirlpool. Isn't this too fast? Chu Hen was shocked. There really was no need to refine and absorb it, and it could directly fuse with his true essence. Before Chu Hen had time to marvel at the miraculous effects of the Celestial Saint Heart Technique, golden specks of light were continuously released from Shi Lan's body. The specks of golden light were like fireflies dancing around the evening mist. Under the dazzling brilliance, her already beautiful face looked even more beautiful and moving. Under Shi Lan's control, countless golden light spots surged toward Chu Hen and integrated into his body. The strands of energy gathered together and instantly turned into a huge force. In an instant, Chu Hen's dantian was like a container that stored water. Endless pure energy was transferred from Shi Lan's body to her. These energies were all condensed by Shi Lan and could be said to be the purest energy. Not only were there no impurities in it, but it was also very gentle. During the process of absorption and fusion, not only did Chu Hen not feel the slightest bit abnormal, it was as if he was soaking in a hot spring. His whole body was warm and indescribably comfortable. As more and more pure energy was integrated into Chu Hen's body, the true essence in his Dantian's dantian became extremely restless. The surging true essence was like the surface of the sea at high tide. The waves were turbulent, and the clouds were scudding. Buzz, buzz. Immediately, Chu Hen controlled the energy in his body and quickly integrated it into the true essence vortex, condensing and compressing it. The strength of the true essence continued to rise, and the aura emitted from Chu Hen's body also became more and more powerful. This time, when the true essence vortex was compressed to the size of a fist, it did not run out of strength like the previous 2 times. Chu Hen was secretly delighted. He immediately used all his strength to compress and condense the true essence vortex. Time passed slowly. The maple forest was still abnormally quiet. Chu Hen and Xilan sat opposite each other with their eyes lightly closed. The spirit concealment formation had completely sealed their auras and the power within them, not allowing any of it to leak out. If one probed from inside of the formation, one would notice that Xilan's aura was getting weaker and weaker, while Chu Hen's power was getting stronger and stronger. However, Xilan also knew that Chu Hen had reached a critical moment at this time. Her slender fingers formed a strange gesture again. Buzz, buzz. In an instant, rays of bright golden light spread from Xilan's body and gushed into Chu Hen's body. Compared to the specks of light, the power contained in the golden light beam was many times stronger and denser. Rays of golden light flowed into Chu Hen's body like streams flowing into a river. With such a huge supply of pure energy, Chu Hen seemed to be bathed in the holy light of the sun. Even his skin faintly glowed with a golden light. In his Dantian sea of qi, majestic surging power swept through all the major meridians. Chu Hen's mind shook, and his aura multiplied. The true essence vortex rapidly compressed and converged. When it was compressed to an extremely small degree, the vortex suddenly burst out with a dazzling light along with a huge aura. Buzz, buzz. Chu Hen only felt that his entire Dantian sea of qi had fallen into a violent turmoil. The dazzling light then burst to the limit and quickly disappeared. The restless energy spread out, and the true essence vortex had already disappeared. What replaced it was a golden essence core. The essence core had been formed, and he had entered the core transformation stage. Looking at the golden essence core that replaced the true essence vortex, Chu Hen was overjoyed. The golden essence core was about the size of a longan fruit. It was surrounded by a golden light and emitted a powerful aura. At this moment, Chu Hen could clearly feel that the strength of the true essence was more than 10 times stronger than before. From today onwards, this essence core would replace the true essence vortex and continuously release powerful energy. However, just as Chu Hen was about to leave, he found that the energy from Xilan's body was still continuously flowing into his Dantian sea of qi. Teacher, Chu Hen communicated with her through his consciousness. Soon, Xilan responded. Don't worry about anything else. Continue to channel the energy into the essence core. Although Chu Hen was puzzled, he still chose to do as he was told. The powerful, pure energy flowed into Chu Hen's 8 extraordinary meridians like a torrent and integrated into the new essence core. The essence core was constantly being irrigated by the external energy, becoming more and more solid and vigorous. With a buzzing sound, Chu Hen's energy directly broke through the first level of the core transformation stage and entered the second level of the core transformation stage. This kind of speed was simply unimaginable. However, after helping Chu Hen break through to the second level of the core transformation stage, Xilan still had no intention of stopping. The Heaven Revolution Sacred Heart continued to circulate, and more pure energy flowed into Chu Hen's body. The sun was setting. The evening glow dyed half of the sky red. Under the illumination of the sunset, the fiery red maple forest was extraordinarily beautiful. At this moment, Xilan had already exited the hidden spirit array. She sat under a maple tree with her back leaning against the thick trunk. Red maple leaves fell beside her like fallen butterflies. Xilan's face was slightly pale, and her breathing was very sluggish. Even so, it did not affect her beauty at all. Instead, It added a delicate and weak beauty to her beauty. Not far away, Chu Hen was in the hidden spirit array. At this moment, he was still in a deep state of cultivation. Specks of light lingered around him. The handsome young man's face was angular, and he gave people a sense of youth's sharpness and vigor. Shilon raised her head and looked at the light blue sky with her beautiful eyes. Her exquisite facial contours were so perfect that not the slightest flaw could be found. Her eyes, which were as soft as water, were filled with a trace of heartbreaking sadness. The scene from a few years ago involuntarily surfaced in her mind. Haha, I finally got the limitless tooth. One day Shi Chun, will definitely become the strongest man in this world. A 15-year-old young man stood on the balcony's railing. He was in high spirits, and his whole body was emitting a youthful vigor and vitality. The purple-haired girl standing behind him smiled and shook her head. Be careful, don't fall down. No, with you here, I won't fall down. The young man turned around and looked at the girl. His slightly immature face was filled with an excited smile. Sister, thank you for the gift you gave me. With this limitless tooth, I will definitely be able to complete tomorrow's mission easily. Why are you being so polite with me? The purple-haired girl patted him lightly, indicating for him to come down and not stand so high. I still have something to tell you. The young man smiled and jumped down. He stood straight and said, Yes, please instruct me, Sister Shilon. Idiot. The purple-haired girl laughed and scolded him. Then she said, I've already made some progress in the celestial sacred heart technique. I want to perform the technique for you today and help you raise your cultivation. It will also help you make sufficient preparations for tomorrow's mission. It can't be. Sister, did you really cultivate that crappy celestial sacred heart technique? That secret technique doesn't benefit you at all. Why are you cultivating it? As long as it benefits you. The purple-haired girl smiled faintly. No. If you perform the celestial sacred heart technique on me, you will definitely be in a weak state for a few months. If the sect assigns you a mission, it will definitely be very inappropriate. You have just become a palace disciple. If anything happens to you at this juncture, it will greatly affect your future competition for the position of sect master. The young man continued. What's more, I have to leave tomorrow before the sun rises. The time is too short, and the technique's help to me is limited. We'll talk about it after I finish the mission. But seeing the young man so determined, the purple-haired girl did not continue to insist. All right then, when you come back, I will perform the celestial sacred heart technique on you. It will be considered as preparation for your next mission. Also, when you carry out the mission tomorrow, don't try to be brave if you encounter danger. You must retreat in the shortest time possible. Here we go again. Sister, you're so long-winded. I've already said it 100 times. No, 101 times. Hurry up and find a man to marry. Go and bother him every day. Don't bother me. What nonsense are you talking about? You're asking for a beating. I won't dare. Chapter 2:15. The sky gradually darkened, and the imperial capital once again entered its bustling nighttime period. The streets and alleys were bustling with people, feasting, singing, and dancing to celebrate peace. Even though the brothel was full, the hearts of the people were lonely. TSK. Today's round of 16 is really exciting. Wei Qingfan is too brave. I'm 100% sure he'll win. In the brightly lit restaurant, the atmosphere gradually became lively. Busybodies drank fine wine while discussing the exciting duels that had taken place during the day. Wei Qingfan is indeed the #1 genius of the Wei clan's younger generation. The lethality of that Death Sun wheel is really terrifying. His chances of winning are indeed high, but the others have a chance too. Yao Zhan is a strong competitor. Imperial Martial Academy's Luo Mengchong is really unexpected. I've only heard that she's beautiful, but I've never heard of her cultivation. I didn't expect her to be so talented. I also didn't expect Luo Mengchong to have mastered the power of the 3 seals of St. Bell City. No, it's not just 3. Today, she only used 3 to defeat her opponent. If her opponent can persist, Luo Mengchong's performance might be even more surprising. Hearing this, The people in the crowd could not help but narrow their eyes. In fact, among all the contestants, Luo Mengchang gave off the most vague feeling, as if no one could see through her. Everyone only knew that she was one of the 4 beauties of the imperial capital and possessed amazing beauty. Other than that, it seemed that even the people of Imperial Martial Academy could not see through Luo Mengchang's true strength. Tomorrow, Luo Mengchang's opponent is Giant Elephant Martial House's Shang Wanyan. Shang Wanyan is also very powerful. Among the popular candidates to win, she is also very popular. I believe that tomorrow's battle will be able to test Luo Mengchang's true cultivation. The battle of the top 8 is really exciting. Do you think that Chu Hen from Heavenly Star Academy can make it to the top 4? That's a little hard to say. Even Shen Yunxi was defeated by him. Chu Hen is really a hidden master. However, Chu Hen's opponent this time is Yao Zhan. In terms of ferocity, Shen Yunxi is probably inferior to Yao Zhan. In any case, I support Yao Zhan. I didn't see what happened last night. God knows how that Chu Hen defeated Shen Yunxi. He probably used some shameful means to plot against Shen Yunxi. Besides, even if Chu Hen defeats Yao Zhan, the one waiting for him will most likely be Wei Qingfan. I dare say that Chu Hen will definitely die if he encounters Wei Qingfan. The Earthless tournament had gradually reached its most crucial stage. At the same time, it was also the moment that everyone was looking forward to the most. The round of 16 had passed, and the round of 8 was about to begin. As for who would have the last laugh and become the champion of this year's Earth rankings, everyone in the city was waiting to see. Tensei Prefecture, Maple Forest. Although the sky had completely darkened, Xilan still stayed near Chu Hen. In the spirit-concealing array, Chu Hen's eyes were tightly shut. A soft light lingered around his body like circles of water ripples. Chu Hen's breathing rhythm was very even. He sat like a rock, as steady as an old monk in meditation. According to Xilan's estimation, Chu Hen would only wake up tomorrow morning at the earliest. She used the Celestial Saint Heart technique to transfer the pure energy that had been stored in her body all these years to Chu Hen. After all, his cultivation had increased too quickly, and it was necessary to take some time to adapt to the strength of the primordial core. Sha. At this moment, the sound of footsteps attracted Xilan's attention. She stood up and looked sideways. She saw 2 young figures, a man and a woman, walking towards her. They were none other than Zhou Lu and Li Hui. Mentor, why are you here? Have you seen senior brother Chu Hen? Li Hui and Zhou Lu saw that Xilan was here, and their faces were full of surprise. And the purpose of their visit was to find Chu Hen. Speaking of which, Chu Hen had not been seen for the whole day. The Mammoth Martial House was also not around, and he did not go to the Bright Moon Academy. The 2 were a little worried, so they searched around the academy and ended up here. Xilan's beautiful eyes lifted slightly, and she pointed to a position behind her. The 2 looked over, and when they saw Chu Hen in the spirit-concealing array, they were even more shocked. Why is he here? Zhou Lu blurted out. Do you still need to ask? Mentor Xilan must be secretly helping Chu Hen improve his strength. Li Hui was smart for once, but in his heart, he thought that Mentor Xilan was very biased. Of course, it was not only Li Hui who thought this way. In fact, the entire Tensei Prefecture knew that Xilan was biased towards Chu Hen and that she usually taught once every 5 days, but when it came to Chu Hen, it became once every 2 days. Many people were envious of him. Mentor, when will Chu Hen wake up? Zhou Lu asked. We'll have to wait till tomorrow morning at the earliest. Xilan replied softly, and then casually asked, Is the name list for tomorrow's quarterfinals out? Yes. Zhou Lu nodded and said seriously. The first battle is Huang Wuluo Mengchang against Mammoth Shang Wanyan. The second battle is Senior Brother Xiaoyan against Bright Moon Long Xuan Shuang. The third battle is Imperial Wind Wei Qingfan against Thunder Qin Le. Chu Hen is in the fourth battle, and his opponent is Huang Wuyao Zhan. Huang Wuyao Zhan. When she said these words, Zhou Lu's eyes were still a bit solemn. Today, when they were dispersing, Yao Zhan had publicly declared that within 10 moves tomorrow, he would definitely defeat Chu Hen on the stage. Minter Shadowless's direct disciple was eliminated. Shilan murmured softly. Li Hui nodded. Senior sister Bai Yue met Huang Wu Luo Mengchang today, and I didn't expect Luo Mengchang to have mastered 3 types of St. Bell City runes. Senior sister Bai Yue was eliminated. So that's how it is. Shilan didn't seem to have much of an emotional fluctuation. In fact, she had heard a little about Luo Mengchang. Although Luo Mengchang didn't say how talented she was still a direct disciple of Red Lotus. Shilan didn't know Luo Mengchang, but she knew Red Lotus very well. A disciple that Red Lotus liked so much was definitely not an ordinary person. It was understandable that Bai Yue lost to Luo Mengchang. Song Chungye's direct disciple, Xiao Yin, had also successfully made it to the top 8. Together with Chu Hen, there were 2 students in the top 8. This result was already on par with Huang Wu Academy. This far exceeded the expectations of the upper echelons of Tensei Prefecture. From today onwards, Tensei Prefecture would also get rid of the worst and last reputation. It's the 4th battle. If there are no accidents, we'll definitely be able to make it, Shilan said to the 2 of them. But Minter, Chu Hen's opponent this time, is Yao Zhan. That person is much more ferocious than Shan Yunxi. Zhou Lu replied with some worry. The choice is not with me. All right. The 2 of them looked at each other, and Li Hui said, then Minter will go back first. Okay. After a simple explanation, Zhou Lu and Li Hui left. Since Chu Hen and Shilan were together, they had nothing to worry about. But in the end, Shilan's favoritism towards Chu Hen was really enviable. Buzz buzz. At this moment, Chu Hen was constantly using his consciousness to guide the huge amount of true origin energy in his body through all the major meridians in his body, completing one qi circulation after another. The golden Yuan Dan in his Dantian Sea of Qi contained an extremely shocking amount of power. Compared to when the Yuan Dan was first formed, the current Yuan Dan was a whole circle bigger. It was already at the peak of the 2nd level of the core transformation realm, and there were signs of it breaking through to the 3rd level at any time. The power of the celestial rotation Saint Heart far exceeded Chu Hen's expectations. Moreover, the power of the Yuan Dan was growing at a relatively slow speed. If one observed carefully, one would notice that the surface of a Yuan Dan was faintly surrounded by wisps of white energy. This white energy was none other than the mysterious ice energy left behind in the Ice Moon Demon Wolf's spiritual origin liquid. Previously, this mysterious ice energy existed beside the true origin cyclone. Now that the true origin core was transformed, it naturally attached itself to the Yuan Dan. Buzz buzz. Suddenly, a strange energy fluctuation came from Chu Hen's Niwen Palace. What was going on? Chu Hen was startled, and he hurriedly used his divine sense to enter his brain's Niwen Palace. In the dim and hazy space, a 2-meter-tall street tree was emitting exuberant Reiki energy. Every leaf on the street tree was shining with a silver luster. The silver luster flowed like the ancient secret talisman. In the area above the street tree, the shadow of a golden bell was suspended there. A soft light lingered around the bell's body, and it was filled with a strong and restless aura. At this moment, something unexpected happened to Chu Hen. The street tree blossomed with a brilliant light, and every leaf was swaying. The exuberant Reiki energy was like a tide, and it filled the entire Niwen Palace. Buzz buzz. In a split second, the main trunk of the street tree grew at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the branches became thicker. The street tree grew at an extremely fast speed. The branches grew longer, and new leaves grew out. As the street tree continued to grow, the Niwen Palace also gradually expanded and became wider. Chu Hen looked at the growing street tree in amazement, and he was pleasantly surprised. 3 meters, 4 meters, 5 meters. In just a short while, the street tree directly grew from the original 2 meters to more than 10 meters. The towering tree that was more than 10 meters tall had luxuriant branches and leaves, and it was full of vitality. The trunk was as wide as a water tank. Countless leaves of the street tree swayed and flickered, emitting vitality. Feeling the Reiki energy that was many times stronger than before, Chu Hen was surprised and happy. From today onwards, he would be an intermediate inscription master. Chapter 216. A day flew by, and the Earthless tournament that the whole city was looking forward to was now reaching its climax. None of the geniuses who made it into the top 8 were mediocre, and who would be able to laugh in the end. It was the focus of everyone's attention, and the expectations of the whole nation. Early in the morning, it was almost noon. The eastern region of the city had already set off a monstrous atmosphere of excitement. The entire competition area was overcrowded, and even the steps were filled with people. At this moment, the students of the major martial houses were reduced to spectators. At this moment, the protagonists of the competition area were only Imperial Wind Wei Qing Fan, Huangwu Yao Zhan, Huangwu Luo Mengchong, Giant Elephant Shangwan Yin, Bright Moon Long Xuan Shuang, Heavenly Star Xiao Yin, and Thunder Qin Lu. Of course, in addition to this, everyone's eyes would occasionally look at the Tensei Prefecture spectator seats, looking for the figure of a young and handsome youth. However, that figure had yet to appear. What's going on? Why isn't that Chu Hen from Heavenly Star here yet? Who knows? He's probably scared. Yesterday, Yao Zhan said that within 10 moves, he would definitely defeat Chu Hen outside the arena. Yao Zhan's words scared him so much that he doesn't dare to appear. It's really funny. I'm really curious how he defeated Shen Yunqi. As the audience discussed in low voices, their eyes subconsciously swept towards the Spirit Rhino Martial House's spectator seats. Today, Shen Yunqi had also come, but his face was pale, and he looked like he had yet to recover from a serious injury. He sat quietly in the spectator seats, and his weak aura did not have the slightest bit of his past heroic bearing. Many of Shen Yunqi's supporters could not help but secretly shake their heads when they saw this. He was originally a strong contender for the championship, but he did not expect to fall on the way to the top 8 and to withdraw by forfeiting. This made countless people doubt Chu Hen's strength and methods. Seeing that the first battle was about to begin, the Tensei Prefecture area seemed a little anxious. What's going on? Why isn't Chu Hen here yet? Song Qinglai asked a few of teacher Shi Lan's direct disciples. Oh yes. Li Hui hurriedly stood up and replied, Hunter Chung, Chu Hen was with teacher Shi Lan the entire time yesterday. Mentor Shi Lan said that they will arrive before the start of the 4th battle. With Shi Lan, the surrounding people were all startled. It seemed that in their impression, Shi Lan would never be alone with a student in private. However, the instructors were all smart people, so that they could naturally guess the reason behind it. It was likely that Shi Lan wanted to help Chu Hen break through to the core transformation stage at the most crucial moment, so as to increase their chances of winning the next 2 matches. It's too late to make a last-minute effort. The person who spoke was Yu Yi, the core instructor who had always been dissatisfied with Shi Lan. We'll find out later whether it's too late or not. Instructor Shadowless smiled slightly. His tone seemed to be biased toward Shi Lan. He then said, As for you, Instructor Yu Yi, why are you always arguing with a little girl in her 20s? I don't think Mentor Shi Lan has offended you. Yu Yi snorted coldly and turned his head away. Principal Jiang, who was in charge of the Heavenly Star Academy, was lost in thought when he saw this scene. Ji Xian had secured a fixed spot on the Heaven Roll, and Chu Hen had made it to the top 8 of the Earth Roll. This was enough to prove Shi Lan's teaching ability. With the appearance of the 5 deans and the appearance of the referee, Lu Tong, the atmosphere in the arena continued to rise. All kinds of jubilant applause and cheers swept through the arena like waves. Shangwan Yin, Luo Mengchong. Cough, cough. I've just arrived, and I can already feel everyone's eagerness. This shows the charm of our imperial city's 2 great beauties. Lu Tong began to put on his professional style again. However, it had to be said that everyone was very impressed. An earth-shattering round of applause swept across the arena. All right, I won't say any more nonsense, lest I get despised. Next, let's welcome Imperial Martial Academies Luo Mengchong and Giant Elephant Martial House's Shangwanyan. I hereby announce that the quarterfinals of the Earth Roll Tournament will now begin. Boom! Waves of cheers continued to rise and erupt, especially for the many male spectators, who were all extremely excited. Luo Mengchong was one of the 4 beauties of the Imperial City. Shangwan Yin was also one of the 6 pearls. In the Imperial City, which had a total population of more than 60 million, there was no lack of beautiful women who could outshine the moon and put flowers to shame. However, the 4 beauties of the Imperial City and the 6 pearls of the Imperial City were recognized by everyone as the best of the best. Amidst the cheers of the crowd, Luo Mengchong, who was wearing a white floral dress, and Shangwan Yin, who was wearing a tight red dress, stepped onto the arena from their respective areas. After more than 20 intense battles over the past 2 days, the huge arena was already in a state of devastation. Large and small pits and ravines were everywhere, but this did not affect the mood of the crowd to watch the battles. Luo Mengchong, do your best. We support you. Shangwan Yin, you must win. I'm optimistic that you will become the champion. The battle between the 2 beauties on the same stage was like a beautiful scenery, attracting the attention of countless people. Luo Mengchong's temperament was refined, and her beauty could topple cities. She gave off a lively and refreshing feeling. Shangwan Yan's aura was relatively indifferent. She had the calmness of Bai Yuyue and the coldness of Long Xuan. In terms of appearance, Luo Mengchong could be said to be extremely beautiful, surpassing any of the women present. However, in terms of aura, it was obvious that Shangwan Yin was stronger. Junior Sister Mengchong, please advise me. Shangwan Yan's red lips parted slightly as she said lightly. Luo Mengchong smiled faintly. Her bright eyes were especially captivating. I've long heard of Senior Sister Shangwan's name. Now that I've seen you today, you really live up to your reputation. In terms of appearance, who in this imperial city can compare to Junior Sister Mengchong? In front of you, I'm also ashamed. Senior Sister, you're praising me as soon as the battle started. I'm embarrassed. Luo Mengchong smiled, and a hint of playfulness appeared between her brows. Although they were opponents, to be honest, Shangwan Yin did not feel the slightest bit disgusted. Luo Mengchong's every frown and smile were full of spirituality, without the slightest pretense. This could be seen from her eyes. Shangwan Yin smiled faintly. Make your move. I'm looking forward to seeing your true strength. Well, Senior Sister Shangwan, be careful. Whoosh! As soon as she finished speaking, a sword suddenly appeared in Shangwan Yan's palm. The body of the sword seemed to be made of rubies, and its entire body was crystal clear, like a red crystal. Its aura was fierce. Along with a burst of rapid airflow, Shangwan Yin disappeared on the spot with a xiao sound, as if she had teleported. Her speed was so fast that it left everyone dumbfounded. What a fast speed! The crowd below the arena exclaimed. It is said that Shangwan Yan's bloodline limit is related to speed. Her speed can be said to be unparalleled among the top 8 contestants. I'm afraid Luo Mengchong is in some trouble. In just a short moment, Shangwan Yin had already appeared on the right side of Luo Mengchong. Her long sword danced, and a bright red glow bloomed. The sword light was like a flowing shadow and directly attacked. Junior Sister Mengchong, be careful. The unparalleled speed made everyone in the arena widen their eyes. Could it be that one move was going to decide the outcome of the battle? Bang! The next moment, a sparkling and translucent ice shard splashed and danced in the air, and the cold air scattered in all directions. Everyone was shocked. They saw a thick ice shield suddenly appear on the right side of Luo Mengchong. The sharp sword was embedded in the ice shield, but there was still a small distance between it and Luo Mengchong's body. In the palm of the opponent's right hand, a white rune emitted a bright light. It's the Frost Sigil. The crowd below the arena exclaimed. Senior Sister Shangwan, be careful, Luo Mengchong reminded. Crack! Immediately after, a white frost quickly spread along the opponent's sword towards Shangwan Yan's arm. The bone-chilling coldness caused white steam to rise in the air. Shangguan Yan's cold eyes narrowed, and then a surge of true Yuan power gushed out. Bang! An enormous hidden force violently surged forth. In an instant, the frost that covered the sword was directly shattered into pieces. Immediately after, a powerful sword force erupted, and the ice shield in front of Luo Mengchong was blasted into countless pieces of various sizes. However, just as the sword in Shangguan Yan's hand was about to attack her opponent again, a soft blue light blossomed from Luo Mengchong's body. The blue light was crystal clear, sparkling and rippling under the sunlight. It was actually a water film. Hua! In just an instant, Luo Mengchong completed the conversion from the frost sigil to the water sigil, and a majestic torrent of water surged towards Shangguan Yan like a waterfall. Although Shangguan Yan's sword force was fierce, the resistance caused by the water sigil was also extraordinary. At the moment of resistance, Shangguan Yan raised her wrist slightly and swung her sword upwards. Hiss! A red sword light, several meters wide, split the waves, and with an unstoppable power, it broke through the torrent of water and slashed towards Luo Mengchong. Chi-chi! However, at this moment, a bright and dazzling lightning pillar lingered around Luo Mengchong's body, and the sigil on her palm turned into a silver lightning sigil. Countless people in the room were shocked by this. In just a blink of an eye, from the frost sigil to the water sigil, and then to the lightning sigil. What kind of control did she have to reach to be able to change it so freely? Luo Mengchong was definitely not an ordinary person. This was the common thought in everyone's mind. Chi-chi, the dozens of lightning pillars that lingered around Luo Mengchong's body shot out, setting off an extremely shocking power and directly met the red sword light that split the waves. Chapter 217. Boom! Boom! The dozens of lightning pillars around Luo Mengchong's body swept up an extremely shocking power and collided with the red sword light that was splitting the waves. The sharp sword light and the violent lightning pillar collided head-on. Under the especially shocked gazes of everyone present, the red sword light was directly shattered. The dozens of lightning pillars were unstoppable, and the offensive did not decrease as they attacked Shangguan Yan in front of them. Shangguan Yan's pretty face changed slightly. In the face of this extremely destructive lightning power, she did not dare to take it lightly. Her figure moved, and her figure flashed toward the area behind her like a phantom. However, what surprised everyone was that Luo Mengchong's attack did not catch up to Shangguan Yan. In the next moment, the powerful lightning power actually impacted on the water wave that had just erupted from the water curse seal. A large area of water still permeated the surface of the platform and had not yet subsided, and a large area was spread around Shangguan Yan. When the dozens of lightning power impacted on the water, dense electric arcs spread all over the surface of the water. What is she doing? Looking at the manic electric arcs flowing on the water wave that surrounded Shangguan Yan, everyone in the audience was shocked. She's really smart. Using the characteristics of water to fuse with electricity, Shangguan Yan was surrounded on all sides. Amazing. Although this move is very good, more importantly, Luo Mengchong's ability to control the runes is too skilled. She can completely do as she pleases. As everyone knew, when the power of two different runes of different attributes came into contact, they would repel each other. However, this was not the case for Luo Mengchong. The power of the water curse seal had already been removed, and she was now just using the water that had spilled on the platform to fuse with the power of the lightning curse seal. Even so, her way of doing things still caused people to exclaim in admiration. Shangguan Yan was in the central area of the water, and she was surrounded by lightning arcs that crisscrossed in all directions. Senior Sister Shangguan, be careful. Luo Mengchong raised her eyebrows slightly, and a faint smile appeared in her bright eyes. Chi-chi. In an instant, the power of thunder and lightning surrounding Shangguan Yan from all directions quickly interweaved into a net. The net rose high from all directions and whizzed toward Shangguan Yan in the center with the momentum of a cage. A series of heavy thunderstorms exploded in the air. His aura shocked everyone present, stirring up the airflow in all directions. Shangguan Yan's eyes turned cold in the face of the lightning net that was coming at her from all directions. Then, a powerful sword aura gushed out from her body. The astonishing sword aura exuded an unshakable might. Shangguan Yin swung her sword, causing surging sword chi to form a circle that completely repelled the lightning net that pounced towards her. Bang, bang. A series of explosions rang out on the table, and a series of sparks flew out wantonly. In the blink of an eye, Shangguan Yin had resolved the current crisis. All right, just as many of Shangguan Yan's supporters applauded and praised, something unexpected happened. The next second after the lightning net was repelled, a scorching heat wave rose up, and then 4 pillars of fire appeared without warning in the 4 directions of Shangguan Yin. What? This shocking scene immediately caused the audience below the stage to widen their eyes. Luo Mengchang's palms faced each other in front of her. Traces of genuine origin energy lingered around her fair fingers, and in the middle of her palms, there was a red, glass-like rune that flickered with resplendent light. This is Lai Fire Rune. Oh my god, it's the 4th type of rune. She has actually mastered the power of 4 runes. In the battle between Luo Mengchang and Bai Yue in yesterday's round of 16, the power of the 3 runes of frost, water, and thunder shocked everyone present. They never thought that the other party would actually have a 4th type of rune, especially the tribe members who had been to Shenzhong City before. At this moment, their faces were filled with disbelief. Wei Qingfan, Shun Yunxi, Bai Yue, Long Xuan, and Yi Yao, these geniuses who had obtained runes before, could not help but frown slightly, their faces solemn. Others might not know, but they all knew that it was not easy to obtain the power of the illusionary spirit bell. Oof. Hong Lian, who was in the Imperial Martial Academy spectator seats, sneered disdainfully. A group of ignorant fools. Do you really think that Meng Chang is just a vase with an empty appearance? Before the All-Academy Martial Competition, there were indeed some people who did not know the truth that Luo Mengchang was only beautiful and had ordinary talent, but only Hong Lian knew what kind of extraordinary talent Luo Mengchang had. Just based on her ability to control the runes, it was enough to surpass countless people present. Boom! 4 towering pillars of fire directly blocked Shangguan Yan's path of retreat. Each pillar of fire was 5 to 6 meters wide and 30 meters tall. The scorching heat wave burned the space, causing it to faintly distort. Under Luo Mengchang's control, the 4 pillars of fire all shot toward Shangguan Yin in the center. The raging flames caused the heaven and earth to lose their color. The 4 pillars of fire were like soaring dragons, like dancing dragons, stirring up a monstrous momentum that shook the surroundings. Shangguan Yan's delicate eyebrows slightly knitted, a trace of determination flashing in her eyes. Then, an unprecedented powerful sword force erupted from her body. Shangguan Yin pointed the tip of her treasured sword upwards, vertically placing it in front of her. The index and middle fingers of her left hand stretched out, pressing against the sword's body and pushing upwards. Buzz! In an instant, an extremely astonishing transcendent aura instantly surged like a flood, and the treasured sword in Shangguan Yan's hand blossomed with a demonic red light. Then, she leaped up, flashing more than 10 meters high in the air. Sword rainbow, dazzling light slash. Along with Shangguan Yan's soft and cold shout, endless red sword shadows blossomed like a red radiant sun with holy light. Countless red sword shadows were released in all directions like auroras, as if tens of thousands of swords were returning to their origin, illuminating everything with red light. Endless cold, murderous intent swept in all directions. Thousands of red sword shadows directly launched a frenzied attack on the 4 flood dragon-like pillars of fire. Boom! In an instant, an incomparably intense energy shock exploded on the arena. Everyone's eyes were filled with astonishment, as they were filled with the overwhelming flames and aurora-like sword shadows. Fireballs splashed wantonly. Sword energy was released all over the sky. The chaotic and gorgeous scene made countless people's hearts hang in suspense. The heaven and earth changed color, the wind blew, and the clouds surged. Circles of scorching heat waves rolled up the sand and stones on the arena, spreading towards the surrounding spectator seats. With Shangguan Yin at the center, more than half of the arena was enveloped in a curtain of fire. The faces of the spectators were illuminated in red. Many genius students were shocked. Wei Qingfan, Yao Zhan, Xiao Yin, and Long Xuanshuang, who had not yet entered the arena, all had their own thoughts. Sure enough, there were no weaklings in the top 8. In the previous battles, everyone had held back. Sword Rainbow, Burning Sun, Slash. A cold voice was heard again, and everyone's heartstrings trembled. They saw a sword shadow that was tens of meters wide shoot out, directly splitting the soaring curtain of fire in front of it. In the next moment, Shangguan Yin flew out of the slashed curtain of fire like a swallow returning to its nest. The powerful sword aura directly locked Luo Mengchong in front of her. Junior sister Mengchong, I'm afraid I've won this battle. Shangguan Yan's speed was extremely fast, flashing a series of afterimages in the air. She pointed her sword at Luo Mengchong in front of her, and circles of dense red sword patterns lingered up and down. However, Luo Mengchong's elegant and refined face did not have the slightest hint of panic, and the corners of her small mouth curled up into a slight smile. That's not necessarily the case. As soon as she finished speaking, Shangguan Yan's sword had already arrived in front of her, but just as the tip of the sword was about to touch Luo Mengchong, there was a swoosh sound. Everyone only saw an illusory flowing shadow flash in front of them, and Luo Mengchong disappeared on the spot like a phantom. Her speed was not inferior to Shangguan Yan's at all. What? Zong! Shangguan Yan's sword pierced the air, causing a crisp metallic sound. Immediately after, the entire competition area fell into an incomparable silence. Luo Mengchong, who had retreated to the area behind Shangguan Yin, had long hair and clothes fluttering, showing off her peerless beauty. And in front of her, a green seal rune was suspended in the air, with a glaze-like luster that stung the eyes of countless people. Oh my God, that's the Gale seal. A trembling voice came from one of the spectator seats. Boom! Following that, the entire audience was in an uproar, and everyone's face showed a strong sense of disbelief. Damn, 5 types of seal runes. At this moment, even the deans of the various martial houses could no longer maintain their composure. One by one, they secretly shook their heads, with a look of amazement on their faces. On the special viewing platform in the north, Imperial Wind Academy's Dean Yin looked at Imperial Martial Academy's Guandu mockingly. You really hit it well. You're such a talented genius, but you actually didn't release any news. Huh? Guandu smiled indifferently with a little pride. Actually, I didn't know about this. Continue pretending. This time, I really didn't pretend. Although this girl came to my Imperial Martial Academy at the age of 14, she has always been very quiet and low-key. I only got to know about her situation from teacher Red Lotus yesterday. The other deans did not believe Guandu's words at all and no longer cared about it. In the arena, Shangguan Yan's jade-like hand clenched the long sword in her hand, and her gaze towards Luo Mengchong was still cautious. However, Luo Mengchong suddenly dispersed the Gale seal in her palm, and her aura also converged. What's the meaning of this? Shangguan Yin asked. Luo Mengchong gently let out a sigh of relief, shook her head, and said, If the fight continues, I don't know when it will end. It's a little troublesome. The victory of this match will be counted as senior sister Shangguan's victory. As soon as these words came out, the entire audience immediately went into an uproar. Luo Mengchong actually chose to admit defeat. It seemed like the other party was not at a disadvantage. Other than Hong Lian, the rest of the people were very puzzled. You're giving the victory to me? Shangguan Yin slightly frowned. Chapter 218. I've been fighting for so many days, and I'm so annoyed. Even if I win against you, I don't want to continue. Luo Mengchong said helplessly. Seeing that the other party did not look like she was lying, Shangguan Yan's aura also disappeared. She looked at Luo Mengchong with a faint smile. I thought I was the only one who was bored. So you're the same. Hmm. Luo Mengchong was slightly stunned. To be honest, I'm not sure if I can beat you. Although I haven't done my best, you're the same. From the beginning, Luo Mengchong had only used the power of 5 kinds of runes and had not used any other power. It could be seen that she had not exerted her full strength. Shangguan Yin continued, so, neither of us has lost this match. Let's consider it a draw. What do you think? A draw? Luo Mengchong was not the only one who was stunned. Even the audience was surprised. Well, Senior Shangguan, you don't have to be so serious, Luo Mengchong said. Shangguan Yin shook her head. Her gaze swept across Wei Qingfan, Yao Zhan, Xiao Yin, and the others who had yet to enter the stage. Before replying, the top 8 are more or less enough. My goal isn't the Earth List Tournament, but the Heavenly List Tournament. Hearing this, Luo Mengchong immediately understood. It turned out that Shangguan Yin wanted to keep more of her trump cards to deal with the Heaven List battle in the future. Although the champion of the Earth List was important, there were still geniuses like Wei Qingfan and Yao Zhan blocking the way. Since the chances of winning the championship were not high, it was better to have a backup plan to deal with the later difficulties. Ahem. The host judge, Lu Tong, spoke at this time and said loudly, both of you, before you choose a draw, I need to remind you that a draw means that neither of you will be able to advance to the next round. In other words, once both of you leave the arena, there will only be 6 contestants left. After hearing what Lu Tong said, Shangguan Yin and Luo Mengchong looked at each other and nodded. The former said firmly, I forfeit. I forfeit too. Luo Mengchong continued. Wow, there was a commotion in the audience. They did not expect such an exciting match to end with both of them forfeiting. Of course, the beauty's choice was right regardless of whether it was reasonable or not. Shangguan Yin and Luo Mengchong both won overwhelming applause from the audience. If that's the case, then I announce that the first battle between Emperor Wu Luo Mengchong and Giant Elephant Shangguan Yin is a draw. Next, we'll directly enter the top 6 ranking battles. Lu Tong announced loudly. The top 8 became the top 6. This might not necessarily be a bad thing for the other contestants. Everyone knew the strength of Shangguan Yin and Luo Mengchong. This was equivalent to having 2 less strong competitors for the championship. Then I'll go back, Luo Mengchong said with a faint smile. Her eyes were curved, and she looked very cute. Shangguan Yin nodded slightly and continued, if we meet again in the Heaven List Tournament, I won't go easy on you. Me too. Luo Mengchong's bright eyes flashed with a hint of playfulness. She then retreated from the arena and returned to the spectator seats of the Imperial Martial Academy. Shangguan Yin also returned to the Giant Elephant Martial Houses area. After the first battle ended, the atmosphere in the arena rose again. Tensei Prefecture Xiao Yin had already stood up from his seat. Hee, it's my turn to go on stage. On the Bright Moon Academy side, Long Xuan was also ready. Let's not waste any more time. Let's welcome Heavenly Star Xiao Yin and Hao Yue Long Xuan, the 2 geniuses. Together with Lu Tong's especially impassioned voice, the fiery atmosphere continued to play out. Under the cheering gazes of the audience, Xiao Yin and Long Xuan ascended the arena one after another. Senior brother Xiao Yin will win. If he wins this battle, he will enter the top 3. Xiao Yin will win. Heavenly Star is mighty. The students of Tensei Prefecture were abnormally lively. Xiao Yin's victory or defeat was very crucial. If he could win, Heavenly Star would occupy the top 3 of the Earth List. This was definitely a symbol of Heavenly Star's rise. Junior Sister Xuan, I've heard a lot about you. Xiao Yin smiled gently. Long Xuan nodded slightly, which counted as a greeting. Nice to meet you. I heard that Junior Sister Xuan is Junior Brother Chu Hen's second sister. If he was here, he would probably be conflicted about who to support. Ha! Long Xuan did not say much and replied concisely. Senior Brother Xiao Yin, please. Hee. After all, I entered the academy a year earlier than you. You should go first. Since that's the case, then forgive me for offending you." As the voice fell, a cold and overbearing ice-profound chi directly poured out from Long Xuanchuang's body. In an instant, the temperature of the entire arena suddenly dropped. With Long Xuanchuang as the center, layers of ice crystal snowflakes spread out on the arena. The audience was secretly shocked. The ice-profound chi that Long Xuanchuang mastered was much more overbearing than the frost curse seal. Swish! In the next instant, a cloud of white cold chi condensed into an ice arrow. The ice arrow shot out like a stream of light, dragging a powerful wave of air behind it as it headed straight for Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan's expression changed slightly when he felt the bone-piercing chill. After watching the competition for the past 2 days, he could confirm that Long Xuanchuang's cultivation was much stronger than her brother Long Qingyang's. Buzz! Xiaoyan condensed his palm, and a thick red light wrapped around his right arm. He clenched his fist and punched out with a surging fist force. With a bang, the ice arrow was shattered in front of everyone. The shattered ice arrow blossomed into a scattered wave of air. When the wave of air landed on Xiaoyan's arm, it directly penetrated the defensive layer of True Yuan and directly penetrated his flesh. What a domineering cold chi! Xiaoyan was secretly shocked. He could not help but underestimate his opponent. Swoosh! At the same time, Long Xuanchuang had already seized the initiative. She gracefully flashed in his direction, and as she moved, a spiral-shaped white vortex quickly condensed in her fair hand. In the blink of an eye, a solid ice sword appeared in her palm. Long Xuanchuang's wrist danced lightly, and the ice sword that was surrounded by circles of white ripples stabbed directly at Xiaoyan. "Junior sister Xuanchuang, good movement technique. I admire you." Xiaoyan smiled indifferently and waved his hand to send a blade of air slashing down. Then, he did a few backflips and retreated more than 10 meters away. The cold chi on his opponent's body was too overbearing. If he got too close, it would be like standing next to an iceberg, and he would be at a great disadvantage. Bang! The red blade of air and the white ice sword collided, and the space trembled slightly, stirring up a circle of residual air vortex. Before Xiaoyan could think of a way to deal with it, the aura released by Long Xuanchuang directly increased by several times. A white stream of air was released from Long Xuanchuang's body and spread toward Xiaoyan in front of her. The white stream of air extended along the ground, and wherever it went, the platform was frozen into ice. When it arrived in front of Xiaoyan, the stream of air rose like a stormy wave, and then separated from the middle, circling Xiaoyan from the left and right. In the instant that it attacked Xiaoyan, 2 masses of white cold chi directly condensed into sharp ice cones on the left and right, stabbing toward the opponent. Looking from a distance, it looked like a ferocious beast opened its huge mouth full of fangs to bite Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan's eyes narrowed, and he retreated again. However, Long Xuanchuang's offensive was getting stronger and stronger. Ice cones that were like the fangs of a giant beast extended out, constantly chasing after Xiaoyan. Chi-chi. Sharp ice sculptures appeared on the platform, and Xiaoyan was directly reduced to a state of dodging, unable to find any opportunity to counterattack. The high speed of the battle made the hearts of the audience hang in the air. Not only was Xiaoyan unable to breathe a sigh of relief, but even the audience held their breaths in their chest. "This Long Xuanchuang is really powerful," a student from Tensei Prefecture said. "Of course, don't you know whose sister she is? By the way, why isn't junior brother Chuhen here yet? He should be here soon." In the blink of an eye, the entire platform had already been covered with more than a dozen ice sculptures emitting cold air. Each ice sculpture looked like a man-eating flower with its huge mouth open. "Junior sister Xuanchuang, if you do this, it will consume a lot of true essence," Xiaoyan said in a somewhat relaxed manner. Although he was almost pierced by those ice cones several times, at least he had consumed a lot of true essence from Long Xuanchuang. However, there was no change in Long Xuanchuang's expression. She slowly raised her left hand, and her slender fingers instantly formed a seal. Her red lips slightly opened, and she coldly shouted, "Explode!" Boom! As his voice faded, under countless astonished gazes, all the ice sculptures on the stage directly shattered into pieces. More than a dozen ice sculptures around Xiao Yin exploded, and in an instant, a monstrous wave of cold air filled the entire arena. What was even more shocking was that after all the ice crystals shattered, they attacked Xiao Yan from all directions, up, down, left, and right from different angles. The thick white cold air seemed to want to freeze and crack the space. Looking at the magnificent scene in front of them, the crowd below the stage was shocked. It turned out that Long Xuanxuang had been preparing this attack from the beginning. The reason why she had continuously created so many ice sculptures without caring about the consumption of true essence was to surround Xiao Yan. The dense ice crystal fragments covered the sky and covered the earth as they surged toward Xiao Yan. As they moved, the ice crystal fragments condensed into sharp weapons. The strength of the attack was unstoppable. The range was so large that there was nowhere to hide. In the face of such a threatening attack, Xiao Yan's brows were filled with a strong sense of seriousness. Boom! Immediately after, a powerful red light erupted from his body like a torrent, and the scorching heat wave and the ice fragments wantonly blended together. Xiao Yan clenched his hands into fists, and a vigorous flame surged in his eyes. Chapter 219. Light of Raging Flames. Along with Xiao Yan's loud roar, a torrent-like red light erupted from his body. Xiao Yan clenched his hands into fists as restless flames surged in his eyes. In the next instant, a red halo, with Xiao Yan at the center, spread out in all directions like ripples on the surface of water. Rumble. The raging might swept away an army of 1,000 like a blanket. The sharp icicles that came from all directions collided with the condensed halo and were directly shattered into powder. Everyone in the audience was shocked. Under numerous shocked gazes, Xiao Yan's aura soared into the sky. Circles of red halo intertwined with each other and rapidly rotated. The stone tiles on the ground crumbled inch by inch as dense and deep cracks spread out like a spider web. Junior sister Xuanxuang, be careful. I'm going to counterattack. A confident smile appeared on Xiao Yan's face. The airflow on the entire stage became abnormally chaotic as endless true yuan rapidly converged and blended together. Xiao Yan clasped his palms together. Immediately after, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth within a radius of a few hundred meters surged into his body. Feeling the powerful energy fluctuations emitted from Xiao Yan's body, Long Xuanxuang's beautiful eyes turned slightly cold. She gently raised her arms as the mysterious ice chi that was several times stronger than before gushed out of her body. In an instant, the huge battle stage was occupied by two powerful true yuan energies. One was a torrential red light. The other was a surging white cold air. At this moment, the hearts of the audience were hanging in their throats, especially those from the Heavenly Star Martial House and the Bright Moon Academy. At this critical juncture, who would be able to seize victory in this match? For the academies behind them, this was a particularly important game. Buzz buzz. A terrifying aura continuously gathered above Xiao Yan's head, following which, he raised his arms above his head as a condensed beam of light followed his arms and pierced through the air. The red beam of light became increasingly powerful as circles of flowing light wrapped around the beam and rapidly rotated. Under everyone's horrified gazes, the red beam of light directly transformed into a giant blade. His domineering aura suppressed the entire area. Xiao Yan swung his arms downwards, and the terrifying gigantic saber slashed towards Long Xuanxuang with a force that could split a mountain. Furious flame cut. The raging power pressed down like a mountain, and a mighty destructive aura surged over. Long Xuanxuang's peerlessly beautiful face revealed a serious expression. At the same time, her ice xianqi was released like a cold current. Screech, Along with a resounding phoenix cry, a huge ice phoenix phantom soared into the sky from the boundless, profound ice chi. The ice phoenix exuded a powerful aura that seemed to look down on all things, giving off the feeling that it was a living creature. The wings flapped, causing the space to tremble, and a bone-chilling cold rushed towards the audience in all directions. Countless people felt a strong sense of oppression. Ice Soul, Ice Phoenix Dance. Ice Soul, Ice Phoenix Dance. At that moment, everyone couldn't help but recall the move that Qin Yang had used against Shen Yunqi a few days ago. Bone Flame, Dance of the Flaming Dragon had also shocked everyone. But in comparison, the power that Long Xuanchuang had released was clearly much stronger than Long Qingyang's. Soon after, under the astonished gazes of the audience, the giant red blade and the Ice Phoenix Phantom clashed head-on. Boom! The deafening noise was like a clap of thunder, causing everyone's eardrums to hurt. These two frightening forces were comparable to two mountains that traversed the sky, colliding with each other. Incomparably violent energy shockwaves wantonly blended and spread out. The sky turned dark and the ground turned dark. A violent gale suddenly rose. The powerful shockwaves caused countless deep cracks and ravines to appear on the surface of the stage, accompanied by a heavy and violent sound. The giant blade image and the Ice Phoenix image exploded in the air above the arena, and chaotic energy splashed in all directions. A huge red and white cyclone rushed into the sky. Everyone from the Heavenly Star Martial House and the Bright Moon Academy stood up from their seats. Each and every one of them frowned with a dignified look on their faces. Even Principal Jiang of the Heavenly Star Academy and Principal Wei of the Haoyue Academy were moved at this moment. The restless air was mixed with a chilly chill as it filled the air. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the two young figures on the stage. Xiaoyan's entire body was surrounded by a red glow, and Long Xuanchuang was surging with ice Xianqi. The power that the two had displayed made the contestants behind them take it seriously. However, just as the audience thought that the two were about to enter the decisive moment, the aura that Xiao Yan was emitting suddenly disappeared. Haha, junior sister Xuanchuang, if we continue to fight like this, we might get hurt. Your junior brother, Chu Hen's sister, and I'm his senior brother. It won't be good for either of us to hurt the other. Why don't we stop this match and end in a draw? Another draw? Wow! The entire arena was in an uproar. 2 draws in a row was not what the audience wanted to see. However, Long Xuanchuang was a smart woman. She naturally understood that Xiao Yan's choice was not to show weakness to her. Last year, Xiao Yan first chopped off one of Huang Wu Tongfei's arms and then dragged his seriously injured body to fight with Shen Yunqi. It could be said that Xiao Yan was very intimidating when he was ruthless. It ended in a draw. Xiao Yan also preserved each other's dignity, as well as the faces of the 2 great academies, Heavenly Star and Bright Moon. Long Xuanchuang did not hesitate too much. She nodded slightly and replied softly, "As you said, this match is a draw." In the end, it ended in a draw. The audience let out a long sigh. First, it was Shang Wanyin and Luo Mingshang, and now it was Xiao Yan and Long Xuanchuang. In other words, there were only 4 contestants left in the ranking battle of the Earth list. This also meant that today's battle for the quarterfinals had directly evolved into a quarterfinals battle for the quarterfinals. Plans really could not keep up with the changes, and the competition schedule was directly shortened by half. Lu Tong, who was specially set up in the north, let out a long sigh of relief. Then he raised his arms and announced in a clear voice, "In this arena, every contestant has the right to choose. I announce that Heavenly Star Xiao Yan and Bright Moon Long Xuanchuang. It is a draw. A draw." Although there were too many people who felt that it was a pity, the audience still applauded incessantly. Seeing that the 2 contestants had left the arena, Lu Tong continued to control the atmosphere in the arena. All right, actually, I did not expect this either. Next, the Earth List battle of the Academy Tournament will directly enter the semifinals. Then, among the remaining 4 contestants, who will be able to enter the finals and become the champion of the Earth List? Let us wait and see. First, Let us invite the two most popular contestants, Wei Qingfan of Imperial Style and Qin Lu of Lei Tang, onto the arena. Rumble. The atmosphere that was still slightly silent just now was like a volcano that had erupted in an instant. The entire arena erupted in cheers. Wei Qingfan, Wei Qingfan, Wei Qingfan, champion. Without a doubt, Wei Qingfan was currently the most popular candidate to become a champion. Even Yao Zhan was slightly inferior to him. As for Qin Lu of Lei Tang Martial House, he was a tall and stocky young man. Apart from Tensei Prefecture, Qin Lu was the only contestant from an ordinary high-ranked martial house to enter the semifinals. Although his appearance was extremely imposing, standing in front of Wei Qingfan, he was still much weaker. Haha, do you want to get off the arena yourself, or do you want me to help you? Wei Qingfan crossed his arms in front of him, a mocking smile hanging on his lips. Qin Lu clenched his fists, a cold light surging in his eyes. Wei Qingfan, don't be too arrogant. Ha ha, then it seems that you have chosen the latter. Wei Qingfan's face flashed with a ruthless coldness. The first round of the semifinals will now begin. Tensei Prefecture. The warm and beautiful sunlight shone through the branches of the red maple tree, illuminating the body of the young youth. An entire day had already passed. The other party was still quietly sitting in his original position, like a boulder. A light breeze blew a red leaf. Not far away, a beautiful girl with long purple hair, under the illumination of the sunlight, was like a fairy that had fallen into the mortal world. For the entire day, Shilan had not left this place, not even by a single step. That absolutely beautiful face was somewhat weak and pale. Strange, he should have woken up long ago. Shilan's red lips moved slightly, muttering to herself. At this moment, there was a slight tremor in the air. Following this, the power of the wave of air became increasingly strong. The space faintly trembled, and a huge wave of aura spread out like a wave. Shilan's beautiful eyes lifted slightly, a trace of ripple appearing in her soft as water eyes. Immediately, the eyes of the youth, who had been silent for the entire day, opened. A fierce light shot out from his eyes, and a completely different temperament was revealed. Buzz buzz! Rings of dust and leaves were startled by Chu Hen's side. He let out a long sigh of relief, and the aura he emitted quickly retracted. His handsome face faintly raised into a faint arc. Minter, Shilan smiled slightly. Minter, what's wrong? Chu Hen got up, but saw that the other party's face was very pale. Who knew that the Celestial Sacred Heart technique would cause the user to enter a period of weakness, and Shilan had been guarding Chu Hen here for the entire day, and was tired and weak. I'm fine. Hurry to the competition area. I'll help you back to rest first, Chu Hen said resolutely. It's too late. Shilan shook her head. Now that 2 matches had probably ended, Chu Hen had to rush to the competition area as soon as possible. But seeing that Chu Hen was not at ease, Shilan hesitated for a moment, then said, I'll go with you to the competition area. But your body? It's fine. I'll recover very soon. Subsequently, Chu Hen and Shilan left the courtyard of Tensei Prefecture one after another. The warm sunlight shone on his face, and Chu Hen's face was faintly transparent. He looked up at the azure blue sky, a pair of pitch-black eyes as bright as the stars. Wei Qingfan, I, Chu Hen, am here. Chapter 220. Wei Qingfan will definitely win. Wei Qingfan will definitely win. In the competition zone for the Earth List tournament, the atmosphere in the arena was filled with all sorts of earth-shattering excitement. On the arena, Wei Qingfan of Imperial Wind and Lei Tang's Qin Lu were fighting for the top 4 position. Wei Qingfan had completely dominated his opponent, gaining the upper hand. Qin Lu had been clenching his teeth the entire time, doing his utmost to defend. As the most popular candidate to win this year's Earth List, Wei Qingfan's popularity was extremely high. Amidst the stormy atmosphere, the instructors and students of the Heavenly Star Martial House appeared somewhat anxious and uneasy at this moment. What's going on? Why isn't Chu Hen here yet? That's right. The 3rd match is about to end Could it be that he's not coming? It shouldn't be. Teacher Shilan has never had any problems before. Other than the Tensei Prefecture's side, people like Yu Chinyu, Long Xuan Xuang, and Yao were also constantly paying attention to the situation over here. The delayed appearance of Chu Hen inevitably caused some confusion to rise in their hearts. Death Wheel of the Sun. Boom! At this moment, a berserk energy fluctuation blossomed and exploded on the arena. The endless golden light was like the brilliance of the sun as a vast and mighty, frightening aura swept out. Under the attack of the flood-like energy, a miserable figure spat out a mouthful of blood as he was blasted off the stage. Boom! In an instant, the already noisy atmosphere in the competition area was ignited once again. Countless people in the audience stood up and applauded. Wei Qingfan, champion. Congratulations to senior brother Wei Qingfan for entering the top 2. Wei Qingfan mighty. An earth-shattering applause resounded throughout the competition grounds. No one took another glance at Qin Lu, who was lying below the stage and covered in blood. Everyone's attention was completely focused on Wei Qingfan's body. Under the gazes of tens of thousands of people, he was as dazzling as a resplendent star in the night sky. Haha, looks like our king of popularity did not disappoint everyone. Lu Tong raised both his arms as he announced, "Congratulations to Emperor Wind Wei Qingfan for being the first to enter the top 2. The applause was thunderous, and even the ground of the competition zone was faintly shaking. In the imperial-style spectator seats, Yu looked at Wei Qingfan, who was like a moon surrounded by stars. A faint gentleness gushed out from her eyes. The displeasure and gloom that had been shrouding her heart for the past 2 days had also gradually dissipated. No matter what, Wei Qingfan was indeed an extremely outstanding person. No matter if it was strength or family background, it wasn't something that person could compare to. However, today's 3 battles had ended, and that person still hadn't appeared. When she recalled the vicious words Yao Zhan had said yesterday, that he would definitely defeat Chu Hen within 10 moves. This caused Yu to wonder if that person was afraid and didn't dare to come. If that was the case, then he really couldn't be compared to Wei Qingfan at all. On the arena, the corners of Wei Qingfan's mouth curled up, and a wisp of a frivolous and indifferent arc appeared on his face. Then, his gaze swept towards Yao Zhan in the Imperial Martial Academy spectator seats, not concealing the provocation and frivolity in his eyes. Yao Zhan replied with a cold smile, then stood up from his seat. "It's my turn. Then, next will be the final battle of the day. I would like to invite the 2 geniuses, Imperial Martial Academy Yao Zhan and Heavenly Star Chu Hen, onto the arena." Along with Lu Tong's words, the cheers and thunderous applause once again stacked upon each other. Yao Zhan had a playful smile on his face as he walked onto the arena. At the same time, Wei Qingfan just happened to come down, and the 2 couldn't help but brush past each other. A cold gust of wind blew. "Perform well. Don't disappoint me, he." Wei Qingfan indifferently sneered. "Huh." Yao Zhan's eyes narrowed, and he replied with a frivolous, playful smile. "Just you wait. After I kill him, it'll be your turn." "Interesting. I'm just afraid you'll die prematurely." Just wait and see." Then, one of the 2 returned to the arena, while the other returned to the spectator seats. "Senior brother Qingfan is amazing. Haha. The champion of the Earth list is in the bag." That's right. That Yao Zhan is nothing in front of senior brother Qingfan. The surrounding people all came forward to flatter him. Wei Qingfan raised his brows slightly, then looked at Yu, who was sitting beside him, and asked, "Are you feeling better?" Yu smiled, indicating that she was fine. "Don't worry, that trash won't be able to get past Yao Zhan," Wei Qingfan said disdainfully. Yu didn't say anything, but a trace of coldness flowed out from her eyes. Yao couldn't help but frown. Hearing Wei Qingfan call Chu Hen trash made her really unhappy. If it wasn't for the fact that Yu was in a bad mood, Yao would definitely have scolded him back. However, almost 20 seconds passed, and there was still only Yao Zhan on the arena. "What's going on? Where's Chu Hen?" Everyone's gaze swept towards the area where the Tensei Prefecture was located. They saw that the faces of the Heavenly Star Academy's students and mentors were also filled with confusion. Everyone in the room looked at each other in dismay. Then, all kinds of low and deep voices of discussion rose continuously. Don't tell me he doesn't dare to come. Who knows? Could it be that he was scared by Yao Zhan's fierce words yesterday? That's too cowardly. I really wonder how he won against Shen Yunqi. The spectator seats in the competition area became more and more chaotic. Shen Yunqi, who was in the consonants martial houses area, frowned, and his pale face, which had yet to recover from his serious injuries, was faintly surging with some complicated emotions. Bright Moon Academy's Long Shuang, Giant Elephant Martial House's Yu Chenyu, and a few others were all confused. According to Chu Hen's character, it was impossible for him to miss such a crucial match. It's fine if he forfeits. That monster Yao Zhan is too disgusting. Yu Chenyu muttered to herself. Where is contestant Chu Hen? The host judge, Lu Tong, asked loudly. No one answered. Tensei Prefecture's Principal Jiang, Song Qinglai, and the others were all anxious. If they had known earlier, they would have sent someone back to the academy to take a look. At least they wouldn't be in such a state where they couldn't go up or down. Lu Tong frowned slightly and then said, if contestant Chu Hen still doesn't come up on stage, it will be counted as a forfeit. Damn, what's going on? That's too weak. Don't wait anymore. I strongly request that he be disqualified. Senior brother Yao Zhan will win. Congratulations to senior brother Yao Zhan for entering the top 2. He clearly doesn't have the guts. Announce the results of the match. The audience once again set off a clamor of noise, and all sorts of curses and insults could be heard. Yao Zhan stood on the stage, the corners of his mouth curling into a casual and playful smile. Strange. Imperial Martial Academy's area, Luo Mingshang, who was sitting beside Red Lotus, pursed her lips, and her beautiful eyes were also filled with a hint of confusion. The curses from below the stage were unceasing, and they were getting more and more unpleasant. Imperial Style's Wei Qingfan laughed, and his laughter was especially sarcastic. I think I overestimated him. Turns out he's not only a piece of trash, but also a coward. Shut up. You're not allowed to scold big brother Chu Hen. Yi Yao was a little angry, and she angrily glared and scolded. Little Yao, Yi Yu shouted coldly. Sister, the facts are in front of us. There's nothing to argue about, Yi Yu said indifferently. In the blink of an eye, nearly 30 seconds had passed. There was no one coming in from the entrances of the various entrances. Don't waste any more time. Manager Lu Tong, you can announce the results. That's right, disqualify that coward. The audience was indignant. Even when Shen Yunqi forfeited yesterday, no one was this dissatisfied. Yao Zhan gently raised his arms, and his expression was full of pride, as if he was announcing his victory. Lu Tong turned around and exchanged glances with the 5 deans, then nodded his head, and his vigorous and loud voice echoed throughout the large competition area. Time's up. According to the rules of the competition, anyone who misses the match will be treated as forfeiting. Lu Tong paused, then continued. I hereby announce that the winner of this match is Buzz. However, before Lu Tong could finish his sentence, a piercingly cold gust of air suddenly assaulted them. The sand and dust on the ground were stirred up, and a red maple leaf that appeared out of nowhere quietly floated down from the stage. Countless people present could clearly feel an indescribable pressure. Swoosh! Then a hurried sound of something breaking through the wind was transmitted to everyone's ears. Everyone's eyes widened, and their hearts trembled, only to see a blurry shadow pass by.